we say auditing in layman terms, when you want to audit an organization or you want to audit your own organization, you are asking them what they do. What they do can be in line with what they have planned to do, their SOP or their planned activities, or based on an international standard, based on the regulation, based on the requirement, or based on what the client wants them to do. So you are asking them what they do or what they are supposed to do, and you are now checking if they are doing those things and if it's in line with international standard, or if it's giving them the required result. So auditing is checking, asking them what they do, and checking if they are doing it, and it's going to give them the required result. Are we together? So it will make it much more definitive, much more professional, detailed, and comprehensive in definition. We say audit is a SIDP. I want you to put the SIDP in the chat room. I want you to write SIDP in the chat room. I want you to write SIDP in the chat room. Who is writing? Who is writing? In our class, you must write. Audit is a SIDP. What do I mean? S means systematic, not E is P. S means systematic. Systematic means that there's an approach. You know, we use this word, system. We use the word system literally many times. We use it in as a slang. You say, about that in our system, I use Duamo. I use system, catch that thing. Now system I use. No be normal. About our system on our system. We use it, we use it very well. It means that we use a particular approach, a defined approach, not the regular general way. We use an approach that is unique. So when we say an audit is systematic, it means that there's an approach to auditing. Auditing is not inspection. Auditing is not any just random activity. There is an approach, there's a defined system, there is a unique way that we carry out an audit. An audit is a systematic, note that word, S, systematic. I means independent, meaning that it should not be subjected to what we feel it should be or what anyone feels it should be. It should be independent of anyone's emotional affliction. Let me put it that way. Or emotional interest. It should be based on evidence. It should be based on result. Independent and documented process. If anything is not documented, it's not done. I told you, you tell me that you want to, I use example of book that you want to be reading every month, every day. And you want to tell me that you have read 5 books. Where is the evidence that you have read 5 books? What's the evidence that you have read 5 books? What's the evidence? Do you jot it down where you write them? Because audit is evidence-based. Everything that you do, if it's not documented, it's not done. If evidence no day, you've not done anything, there must be evidence, because auditing is what? An evidence-based activity. And it must be well documented. Your records, your planned activity, your schedule, your maintenance, for example, maintenance department, your maintenance schedule, your maintenance plan, your maintenance record of equipment breakdown, record of equipment repair. All those things must be well documented. If it's not documented, it's not done. Evidence-based activity. You won't tell me that you attended this class. There is no attendance. Then how are we sure that you attended the class? Audit is evidence-based. There must be evidence for everything that you say you do. If there's no evidence, then nothing has been done. Evidence-based activity. That's why it must be documented. A SIDP. But what are you doing? You are obtaining evidence. A systematic, independent, and documented process that you use to obtain evidence. Evidence. And what are you doing with that evidence? You are evaluating it against the criteria. The criteria is what? What they say they will do. We are following ISO 9001 standard. Now, you are now auditing them against that ISO 9001 standard. You are following NAFDAC Act, NAFDAC regulation based on pharmaceutical product, or NAFDAC regulation based on FMCG. Now, auditing now means that you are checking it in line with that NAFDAC Act. you are following a particular code of practice, or you are following a client established requirement for you to be our client. These are the things that you must maintain in your organization. You are now auditing yourself. Auditing is based on those requirements. That is the criteria you are auditing against. Criteria is what they have subjected themselves to and what they want to conform or comply with, and you are now checking if they are following those procedures, those requirements, those regulations, those laws. Those are what we call criteria. So when we say auditing, you are using a systematic and independent, a documented process for obtaining objective evidence. Your process for auditing must be documented. The audit plan, the audit schedule, the audit report, the interview, the non-conformities, every single thing, the checklist that you use, your questionnaires for interview, everything must be properly documented. That's how we say that is what? It's a documented process for obtaining evidence from the auditee, those that you are auditing, and evaluating it objectively to determine the extent to which they have fulfilled that criteria. I want to believe that that definition is clear. If it's very clear, please type yes in the chat room. If the definition is clear, please type yes in the chat room. Mr. Ekato, please kindly unmute.
Okay, good morning, sir. I have a question. The definition, I clearly understand it. An audit process is highly documentation based, so where you check.
I can't hear you again.
Me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I said from my own experience in auditing of pharmaceutical, the very
I don't know what's happening. The network is just going and coming, and it's frustrating. But if you can all hear me very loud and clear, I think it's fine.
Okay, let me switch network then. Hello, is it better now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead, sir.
You have done what you said most of the department have become so good at.
Am I the one? Can any other person hear him?
Yes, we are hearing loud and clear.
I think it's from my side, though. I think I'm the one who can't hear. But can you all hear me loud and clear? Am I skipping at any point in time?
No, I can hear you loud and clear.
No. Yours is okay.
Okay. Please, Mr. Ekato, please can you go straight to your to the question because of
Okay.
I can't hardly hear you.
So my question now is,
or you type it because you are skipping again.
people do the documentation very well, but when you interview them, you realize that they actually don't do the work as they said they would do it. So how do we encourage those people to go beyond just documentation and do what they said they would do?
That is what auditing is all about. Auditing, when they say they are doing something and they give documentation, is just one part of audit, what you audit. The reality, the reality of the activities, you get it through interviews, you get it through on-site auditing, when you go on site to see what they do. So if the requirement of the standard is very clear. The standard does not say that they should only document. So if they are documenting, for example, a company document that in their SOP, if every staff wants to enter a particular, let's say, packaging room, maybe where they are packaging, let's say, the pharmaceutical product, let's use pharmaceutical product, that when they are entering that particular room, they will put on apron, they will cover their hair. Then you as an auditor, they wrote that in their SOP. You now you now enter their process room. You now realize that many of them don't even have ADAT. Sorry, many of them don't have anything worn. They don't have apron, they don't have hand gloves, and they're just working like that. It's a clear non-conformity. There's nothing like encouragement here. You are an auditor, you are there to checkmate them. You raise it as non-conformity, and you communicate it to them for them to address it. If it's going to affect maybe their certification, it must be clear. Because if you are following a standard, if you are following ISO 9001 specifically, for example, under clause 7.1.3 or so, that talks about people and infrastructure, those things must be there. So if they do not conform to the requirement, document is one thing. It's just 10% of what you want to do. The main activity is the reality of what they do in their facility. So if they are not following that procedure, then they are not conforming. And when they are not conforming, you raise non-conformity report, and if it's going to be certification based, it means that without addressing those non-conformities, they won't get certified. So a company that wants to get certified will follow the letter, will not just go into documentation, but implement what they have documented. So documentation is one thing, implementing what they have documented is another thing entirely. Is that clear, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, it's clear. It's clear. Thank you, sir.
All right. Any other question? So when we say auditing, it is very clear. A systematic, independent, and documented process for obtaining evidence and evaluating objective evidence and evaluating objectively to determine the extent to which the audit criteria has been fulfilled. Let's move on. This auditing that we are talking about now has different types. We have different type of audits. We have the internal audit and the external audit. When we say internal audit, we are talking about self-auditing. When a company audits themselves or they invite a consultant, what do I mean? When an organization wants to check on their processes to know how they are doing and to know how they have met up with their requirements or how they have established their process and their system, then we call that internal audit. Sometimes people confuse it with when a consultant is being engaged. Sometimes people confuse it with when a consultant is being engaged. They call it second party because they are engaging a consultant. When a company wants to audit themselves and they call a consultant to come and audit them, it is still first party audit. The consultant is being paid, is being hired to do that job for them. It is just like me now. I want to get a car now. Let's say I want to buy a car now. And I'll decide that instead of me disturbing myself, let me give somebody, a car dealer, money to go and buy a car for me. Who owns the car? I'm still the owner of the car and not the car dealer. So it is still I'm still the one who bought the car. So when we say first party audit, it is about what is being audited. We are auditing our processes. Whether we are having internal auditors who do it, or we engage a consultant to come and do it for us, or an external person, it is still internal audit. Because sometimes people get confused when they say it is an external auditor that is coming. The process that has been audited is still internal. It's still the organizational processes. So we have internal audit and external audit. External audit is of two types, the second party and the third party. Now, what makes an audit second party audit? If it is an audit of an interested body, for example, we have Chicken Republic, for example, has a lot of franchise. Franchise are those people, those companies that use their name to sell the product that they say they sell. That's why sometimes you eat Chicken Republic in A, it will taste different from B. Why? Because they are different franchise. Because they are different organized, because they are different franchise. Now, if the real owner of Chicken Republic now decide that we want to audit all our franchise, that is second party audit. It is business related. If, for example, Mobi filling station now, they have a lot of franchise that just use their name, their logo and their brand, but those people are not actually mobile. They just use it. You think it is mobile, but they are franchise because they already have a name. Mobi cannot decide that they want to go and audit them. It's called franchise. A client can decide to audit a contractor. Let's say a construction company now. A construction company that has a lot of contractors that work with them can decide to audit them. That is second party. It is a kind of business relationship. A vendor auditing a supplier, a vendor auditing a client auditing a vendor, auditing a supplier, auditing a customer auditing a supplier. That kind of business relationship, that kind of interest is called second party audit. Then third party is when a regulatory body or a certification body comes to audit. When a certification body comes to audit or regulatory body comes to audit, it is called third party. For example, if NAFDAC comes to audit your organization, for example, if NAFDAC comes to audit your organization, it is third party. If a certification body comes to audit you, it's third party. If a regulatory body comes to audit you, it is third party. So we have first party, which is also internal audit, and we have second party and third party, which are external audit. What are the phases of auditing? Auditing has different phases, which we are still going to talk about in full. I'll just list them out. We are still going to talk about each and every phase in this particular course. From the initiation phase, when they plan to do the audit. No, we say that auditing is a systematic, independent, and documented process. I said systematic, meaning that there is an approach to auditing. There must be proper planning, proper initiation of the audit. After initiation and planning, what comes first should be document review, documentation, documented processes, document review, documentation, documented processes. That is the first thing that comes in. Then after that, preparing for on-site activity. You now prepare to go for the physical inspection. You prepare to go for the for the interview, for the sampling of the product, for the sampling of the activities, for checking with the processes that they use to deliver their product and services. You must prepare for on-site activity, and you conduct then you now conduct the on-site activity. After you've done a document review and you've done your real audit, stage 2 audit or the real audit, then you now come up with your audit report. Then you complete the audit and you follow up. The audit report should tell us the conformities and the non-conformities, the OFI, opportunity for improvement, recommendations, and the likes. If it is requested for, then you complete the audit, and if there's any follow-up, you do the follow-up. All this will still be discussed one after the other. However, when we're talking about certification has a lot of benefits. There are a lot of benefits with getting certified as an organization. When the company gets certified to ISO 9001, I talk about the risk. It helps you to see the risk that can affect your business. Both the present risk and the futuristic risk. It helps you to be able to see them and address this risk in order to improve your process. In order to improve your process and in order to improve what you do, both present and in the future, to foresee risks that can affect your business. For example, let's say, okay, I want somebody to give me an example of a particular organization or a particular business that I can quickly use as an example. Anyone? Anyone? Just example of any business or any organization that we can use.
Logistics.
Logistics. Okay, let's say logistics. Now, in ISO standard, when you're talking about being able to implement ISO 9001, which is about quality management system, you should be able to identify the risk. What are the risks that can affect logistic business? What do we need from logistics? Timely delivery. That's the most important thing. If it's logistic business that they do delivery, timely delivery. So what can affect timely delivery? Equipment breakdown. The car, the truck, the bicycle, the bike, they can break down. It's a risk to logistic business. It is a risk to logistic business. A risk to the business. There can be breakdown. The worker can fall sick and will not be available. The worker can go ahead to go and do something else. There can be traffic. So many things that can affect you. So ISO 9001, we're able to identify this risk and be able to and we guide you on how should you run it to help you to become an opportunity and can help you to manage this risk. It can also help you to stop business from occurring, problem from occurring. You keep having the same issues in your business. You keep having the same issue in your processes, in your management system. There is rework. There are errors continuously. Redundancies in your processes. It helps you to stop problem from reoccurring. It helps to boost marketing and sales efforts, enhance performance of the employee, boost employee morale, maintain focus as much as possible, and have greater insight into their business. Because ISO 9001 is basically about business. Increasing productivity and the quality of the business that you deliver. What ISO standard is a worldwide recognized standard. You see many products, they write ISO 9001 there. It is a sign. It is what is being proud of when companies become ISO certified. Increase business opportunities, increase customer satisfaction, then help to build deeper QMS process understanding. You're able to understand your processes more. You're able to understand how to run your processes, whether the HR process, whether the maintenance process, whether the logistic process, whether the production process, whether the every department, quality QA QC process, maintenance process, supply chain department, every process, every unit will have a role to play, and understanding these processes will help you to run your company better, then achieve continuous improvement and build your revenue. Achieving continuous improvement and helping you to boost your revenue. Now, you want to go into ISO 9001 itself. What is ISO 9001? ISO 9000 is a set of international standards for quality management and quality assurance. We have ISO 9001, 9002, I think 9004 too. There are different types. But the one that is audit, the one that you implement is ISO 9001 for quality management. Other ones are like guidelines. So in ISO 9000 family series or family, it contains series of international standards for quality management and quality assurance. The standard were developed to help companies to effectively document the elements they need to maintain an effective and efficient quality system. It helps organizations to manage their processes when it comes to establishing quality management system. There are a lot of quality management systems. We have the lean production, we have the lean manufacturing, we have the Scrum Master, we have 6 black belt, we have the 6 Sigma, so many of them, and we have the ISO 9001. So it helps companies to be able, it has a well-defined structure that makes it easy for companies to be able to easily implement and run the organization effectively. ISO 9001 is defined as the international standard that helps us to specify the requirement for a quality management system. What are the requirements? What are the requirements to run this quality management system? It has this set of criteria. You see it, clause 4, starting from clause 4 to clause 10. Requirements. The organization shall, you will see those requirements that are there. So it contains a set of criteria for a quality management system and is the only standard in the family that can be certified to. ISO 9001 is what companies will say. No company will say that they are certified to ISO 9002 or 9003 or 9004. They only get certified to what? 9001, because that is the only standard in the requirement that companies can get certified to that you implement in the organization. Organizations use the standard to demonstrate their ability to consistently provide products and services that meet customers and regulatory requirements. ISO 9001 applies to any organization regardless of the size or industry. Any organization at all, no matter how small, no matter how big they are, they can effectively implement this ISO standard, ISO 9001. Thank you. So let's go for our first break. This is 11 o'clock. By 11:15, please let us be back. By 11:15, please let us be back. Thank you and God bless you. Like I told us the other time, ISO certification has many benefits. Same thing as quality management system. What's the benefit of ISO 9001? Like I have said from the beginning, ISO 9001 is about customer satisfaction. There should be consistency in the delivery of the quality that you deliver. A simple example is gadgets, products that you see out there, TV sets, headphones, even what we eat, carbonated drinks. If you taste, at least in Nigeria, if you taste Coca-Cola anywhere in Nigeria, it should taste the same. If you take Domino pizza and Dodo pizza, you know that, oh, this is Domino's, this is Dodo pizza. If you take Biggie Cola and Coca-Cola, you will see the difference. There should be consistency in the quality of your products. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. What I'm saying is that what makes up that Dodo pizza, what they put in place, the processes that makes up that Coca-Cola, there should be consistency in it. When you use a detergent, a particular brand, wherever you buy it from, the feeling of what you feel when you buy it from Lagos should be the same when you buy it from Abuja. There should be consistency. Customers should be able to get that consistent quality, not that they will buy it in a particular time, it will be good, another time it will be bad. In your process line, in your production process, in your manufacturing process, in your operational processes, there should be consistency in getting the right quality. Easy market entry for your products. ISO standard helps you to be able to penetrate the market. ISO standard helps you to eliminate errors and inefficiency. It makes your processes much more effective. It addresses what could lead to errors. Easy approval of bank loans, easy enhanced customer satisfaction, internal effectiveness and efficiency, and increase in market share and profitability. All these are a lot of benefits of the ISO standard. Now, ISO 9001 has principles. To achieve all these benefits that we have spoken about, you need to understand the principles. What are the principles of quality management system? Quality management system, based on ISO 9001, it has 7 principles, which we must put at the back of our mind, which we must put in our mind, which must be in our hands every time. They are standard principles that relate to ISO 9001. And we call it CLEPIER. I want you to write CLEPIER in the chat room. CLEPIER. 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 I want us to write it in the chat room. CLEPIER. Only one person has responded. CLEPIER. The first is ISO 9001 is customer focus. Like I said, it's about customers. Because if you want to establish your commitment to quality, if you want to establish your commitment that you are committed to quality, the first thing is to put your customers in your mind. You should focus on your customer. For example, getting customer feedback. Just before the break, I got a mail. We sent the proposal to a client, to Chowdeck. They messaged us that they want us to do accident investigation for them, for some accident. And we sent the proposal. While we were in class, we got a mail that after going through our this thing, blah, 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 that they've decided to go for another vendor. It's not the first time we get such messages. Not every proposal that you sent out there, you always get the job. They said, okay, they could not, they've used another, they've decided to go for another vendor. Then, in my mail, in my response during the break time, instead of just responding that thank you, blah, 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 I now requested that, can they tell us that we appreciate, in fact, let me even read how I composed it. Let me read how I composed it. I said, thank you once again for giving us this opportunity. As an organization, we are always open to feedback for continual improvement, and we will be glad if we can get a brief highlight of the criteria that scored us lower. Because you used another, definitely maybe it might be that maybe our cost was too high, or you're expecting us to put something that we didn't put. This is for us to look into our processes to improve and get better. Now, we are now, as a businessman, I now continue. I said, also, we will also be interested in supporting your organization in preventing incidents, as this is crucial to us. We will be glad to offer our little input, provide solutions to the possible safety challenges you might be facing. This is what we can do for you at no cost to your organization in order to kickstart a good relationship. We look forward to your positive response. You see how I compose that? There are two parts that I want you to learn there. The first part, this is not a business class anyway, but the first part was that we wanted to get feedback on what? On what could have made us to score well. Yesterday too, I got another one for a first aid class. We charge 150,000 naira per person. They said they want Red Cross, which we can also get. However, they said, okay, that they've done it with another vendor. And I asked them, okay, what is it? They now said that our cost was higher. We plan on giving them a your sugar certificate, a your sugar certification, and also the Red Cross, which is 2 certificates. But it's like maybe they were not interested in that one, and which is more expensive. Now, assuming they have communicated to us, we'll have compromised on some things and balanced it. That's how you need to be customer focused. To us, they are our customers. Your focus, the first thing that you must look out for, that's why this course is not only for someone that wants to be an auditor. Someone that is a business owner should go through this course. That is into business. We understand how to run their businesses, because ISO 9001 is about customer satisfaction. It's about the business. It's about business improvement. So getting feedback, focusing on the customers, because this will help you to understand their need, so that next time when you are dealing with another customer, you will know how to address them. Address their need and requirement to improve your business processes and performance. Next time now, if I want to give a quotation for first aid, I would probably not go higher than 100 again for that kind of customer. Because there's a customer that if you charge too low, they will look at it like it's like you don't know what you want to offer. How you be charging us 100K? It's like you don't know what you are doing. So it is to give you feedback to improve your process. The second one is leadership. That is the L. Is a proper principle of every standard, not only 9001. In fact, in the ISO standard, leadership is a clause on its own. There must be a stable and strong leadership, which is equal to you having a clear perception of your company's future. You must be able to run an organization with a clear leadership mindset. so that you can be able to create and maintain the internal environment in which your employees can fully take part in achieving your objective. If you don't set clear objectives, if you don't set clear examples, if you don't have clear leadership, you will not be able to run an effective quality management system. Every organization must ensure that the whole team, they work together for the same objective and help in increasing morale and productivity. That is why you need leadership, and leadership is an important facet of quality management system. Few seconds, please.
Will be source for.
Are we together in this class?
And
Then the
if
next one
need
is
be,
engagement of
basis.
people. You need to engage people is an important part of your process. You will hardly see a company that does everything on its own. There are people at different levels. People at all levels are the basis for every organization, and there must be full participation of these people and their ability to be used for the company's benefit. That is why it is very necessary that everyone in your company, everyone in your organization knows their roles and responsibilities. They must feel respected for their contribution to the overall success. And this will also help you to determine your company's engagement and improve their quality. Are we together? Engagement of people. Sometimes the recommendation from the lowest staff can be what can change a company's perception. There's this particular popular story of a company that they were into sweets production. They used to make sweets. So many times, okay, before I go to that, have you ever bought a sweet before? Maybe you bought a pack of sweets, and when you open one, you didn't see anything inside. Has it ever happened to you before? Has it ever happened to you before? Anyone? Have you ever seen a sweet that is empty before? Now, thank you, Mr. Ekato. Now, this company was having that challenge. They produced sweets. So they were having this challenge of many of their sweets is empty. And people were becoming not satisfied with it. How will I buy 10 sweets and 2 or 3 of it is empty? So they were losing customers. Now it became an issue. They got the feedback. Imagine that they didn't get feedback. They wouldn't know. They got this feedback, these complaints. So they were now brainstorming. They were trying to use technology, different technology. Let us maybe a motion detector or a weight detector, a lightweight detector. The sweet will pass through a machine that will detect it, or a blue, what's it called? All these beam lights that will detect that. All of them were saying many things. Then one worker who can only think simply, who does not understand those complexity, he now told them, instead of doing all these things, why can't we put a fan? After the sweet have come out from the packaging unit, why can't we put a fan there and measure the fan in a way that it can only blow away empty nylon, a nylon of a particular weight that is very thick, it will be able to blow it away. So that by the time it passes through that line, by the time it passes through that, by the time the sweet comes out of the packaging unit and the fan is placed there, it will blow off the empty nylon. It's very simple. That was a simple solution to a complex problem. Why? Because they engaged the workers. Because they were the one working in the packaging unit. They are the one experiencing what is happening there. And the cleaners will come and pack them and pack them together. We can even count it to know how many for every production line. Maybe we produce 1,000 sweets. We will know how many is having that issue, is empty from the counting. Do you see that simple solution? Why? Because they engage people. Then the next one is process approach. Process approach. The PDCA, when you hear process approach, we are talking about the PDCA. The PDCA approach. The plan, the do, the check, and the act. Plan, do, check, act. That is the PDCA approach. The plan, the do, the check, and the act. This PDCA approach has to do with set of action that uses resources to convert input into output. What are the inputs to our processes? What do we need to put together? How do we run it using the PDCA approach to give us the desired output? The desired output for quality management system, like I've said, for the organization is customer satisfaction. That is the end goal. So the understanding PDCA approach as a principle is very important because it helps us to provide the guide to develop a process-driven environment across the organization. For every department, for every unit, there will be what they do, what they plan, what they do, what they check on, and what they act on. Plan, do, check, act. Every department must operate based on this principle. Then improvement, which is very clear. There must be an opportunity for improvement. Overall performance should be the company's main objective. Every organization must have an objective that talks about continuous improvement. Every organization must have in their policy statement of continual improvement. Every single person in the organization should make the effort to find a way to improve what they do and to make the business stronger. Then evidence-based decision making. Like I've said in auditing, just like in auditing, evidence. There must be data to back up what you are saying. When you are making a decision, there must be data to back it up. Like I use the example of sweet. How many nylon per 1,000 sweet? How many sweet per 1,000 produced sweet used to be empty? Use data-driven decision making. Reliable data is important for making the decision to know what to do. Clarifying root cause of non-conformity. Non-conforming product. Why are we not getting the desired quality? Why the deviation from the quality standard? Why deviation from the required standard? Why the deviation from the design? You use data, evidence-based to know what to do. Efficient decision based on scrutiny of the data and information. Then relationship management. Relationship internally and externally. Relationship internally and externally. Relationship with your vendors. Relationship with your contractors. Relationship with your suppliers. How do you select your suppliers that can maintain cost, develop resources, and create value for you in the organization? Building continuous relationship will help you to run your organization. So these 7 principles are very important. I call it CLEPIA. Customer focus, leadership, engagement of people, process approach, improvement, evidence-based decision making, and relationship management. These are the principles that guides you being able to achieve the best out of ISO standard. And this ISO 9001, how does it look like? What are the requirements of ISO standard? What are the structure of the ISO standard? I told you from the beginning that the auditable clauses of the ISO standard is from where? It's from clause 4 to clause 10. It's from clause 4 to clause 10. These are the auditable clauses of the standard. 3 seconds, please. How do you run the processes? Because, like I've said, the clauses start from where? Start from clause 4 to clause 10 of the ISO standard. There's a structured approach to implementing these requirements. There's a structured approach to establishing these requirements. And what was used to define this requirement? You know, let's go scriptural a bit. If you look at, let's say, the Bible, for example, I say that we are mostly Christians here, if not all of us. Let's look at the scripture, for example. You see that it is not just being placed randomly. The Old Testament and the New Testament, then Revelations, that's under New Testament. Under the New Testament, we have the Gospel according to Mark, Luke, Matthew, and John, and the letters of Paul to the people of Thessalonians and the likes, Corinthians, and we have those ones like 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Revelations, and the likes. Then in the Old Testament, we have the one of David, Sons of David. We have that of Solomon. We have the book of Psalm. We have so many of them aligned like that from the Old Testament to the New Testament. From the Old Testament to the New Testament, we have it structured like that, one after the other. So you will see that the arrangement is deliberate, gradually from Genesis, from the beginning. Genesis didn't come in between. Genesis came from the beginning. And it goes down like that, we have it to the end, to Revelation. Now, the ISO standard also has a structured approach, which is the PDCA approach. Because we are talking about running an organization. You need to have, your organization must follow the PDCA. That's the best approach that you can use. The process approach. The plan, the do, the check, and the act. The PDCA. We have the plan, the do, the check, and the act. The PDCA approach. So you look at from the clauses of the standard, from clause 4 to clause 10, you see that it follows that chronology. You see that it follows that approach from beginning till the last part. And that is what I want us to use the next 20 minutes or more to do. And I said it follows what? It follows the PDCA, the plan, the do, the check, and the act. And I use the system of what? I call it 3211. I want you to write 3211 in the chat room. I want you to write 3211 in the chat room. 3211. I want you to write 3211 in the chat room. What do I mean by 3211? I mean, the plan phase has 3 clauses. When you look at the clause of the standard I implement, when you say the organization shall, the organization shall this, that, everything is under these clauses. And I want to give you the structure of how it is being arranged. It starts from clause 4 to clause 10. Clause 4, 5, and 6 is the plan phase of the standard. That's where you have the planning. That's where you have the proper planning of what you want to do in your organization. Then the do phase has 2 clauses. That's why we call it 3-2. Then the check phase has 1 clause. Then the act phase has 1 clause. 3-2-1-1 principle. That is the 3-2-1-1 principle. The plan, the do, the check, and the act. The plan phase has 3 clauses. The do phase has 2 clauses. The check phase has 1 clause, and the act phase has 1 clause. Now, what are the clauses of the plan phase? Clause 4, 5, and 6. The do phase has what? Clause 7 and 8. The check phase has clause 9, and the act phase has clause 10. When we say clause 4, 5, and 6, that is the plan phase of the standard. Put that in your mind. Clause 4, 5, and 6 is the plan phase of the standard. Talking about clause 4, context of the organization. That is where it starts from. When you look at clause 4, 5, and 6, clause 4 is context of the organization. Clause 5 is leadership. And clause 6 is planning. And when you look at it, you will see that the replanning is the replan phase. No, that's the plan phase. 4, 5, and 6, plan phase. You will see that clause 6 has the planning. But the planning cannot come without understanding the context of the organization and the leadership. Because it starts from the context. In what context is this organization operating? What are they doing in this organization? What are the internal and external issues faced in this organization? That is where it starts from. The context of the organization. That is the origin. That is the beginning. That is the foundation. Then clause 9 talk about who are those that will run it. If, for example, now they call you for an interview, the first thing that you look out for is what do they do in that company that they call me. Then before you start looking at who are those that run the organization, the first thing that happens is the context. That's why it comes first. Then next followed by the leadership. Then followed by planning. Because that is where because it's based on the context that you'll be able to know what to plan for. Because what will be applicable to a logistic company in their own context will be different from what will be applicable to a manufacturing company in their own context. In fact, even if it's the same logistic company, what will be happening in a logistic company that does delivery only, delivery to people, will be from the logistic company that is into B2B, business to business, helping companies like Coca-Cola to deliver their product. Each company will have their own context. We have their own reality. That is why context comes first, then the leadership, then the planning. Because it is these first two, which is context and leadership, that will tell us how we want to run our planning. Then when you look at the arrow, from planning is supposed to go to operation, which is the do. The main do in the do phase between support and operation is operation. However, you can't carry out an operation without support. What do I mean? For example, you want to cook jollof rice. You have written down your plan, how you will start the cooking, how you will mix that, how you will mix this, how you will do this, how you will do that, in fact, we with what I'm saying now, I'm going to cook jollof rice this evening. With everything, how you cook it, how you mix it, how you get the gas, how you switch on the gas, how you put that, you've already have it in your plan. But all those things cannot do abracadabra and become the jollof rice. I will need what? I will need supporting system. What are they? I will need resources. I will need to get gas. I will need to get a chef. I will need to get cooker. I will need to get water. I will need to get the pepper. I will need to go and buy the rice. I need to go and buy the oil. I need to get all these ingredients that will be needed to carry out the activity. That is why clause 7 came out first as support before operation, because you need to get the supporting system to actually make all what you have planned to become a reality. If you are following me, please type yes in the chat room. If you are following me, type yes in the chat room. What will make you to become a reality is that supporting system. So there must be support. What is that support? I call it RCACD. In my class, I used to give a lot of acronyms to make learning easier. Like I told you, this slide is not just for you to pass the exam. It is for you to pass the exam, get certificate, but more importantly, become competent. I call it RCACD. Please write RCACD in the chat room. I want you to write RCACD in the chat room. I want you to write RCACD in the chat room. What do I mean? The first R, 7.1. Remember that support is clause 7. 7.1, resources. The company must provide resources. The people. The infrastructure. They are based on what is happening in the organization that could affect the quality management system. Infrastructure, for example, let's say a logistic company. You can't go and get bikes that will be causing issues, that will be breaking down every time. Infrastructure must be quality. Even in the manufacturing plant, the quality department, the process line, the equipment, what conditions should those infrastructure look like in order to suit the operation? How do they set, for example, the packaging department? How do they arrange the packaging unit in such a way that it aids the easy activity, it aids the easy production? Infrastructure, the equipment, the tanks, the vessels, the reservoirs, are they in line with promoting quality management? The people, are they competent? Are they strong? Are they effective? Do they have what it takes to run the organization? Then the environment for the operation of services. How does the environment look like? For example, imagine that you go to Coca-Cola now. You now see flies in their filling unit. How will you feel? Will you ever take Coca-Cola again? I'm just saying. Or you went to a manufacturing plant. You now see a pharmaceutical company. You now see where they are packaging the drugs. You will see everywhere dirty. How should the environment look like? These are part of the resources. Measuring resources. Measuring equipment. Maybe they need to calibrate, they need to measure, they need to test, they need to analyze. What are those things that is needed to ensure quality? Is it being provided? Then we now talk about 7.1.6, which talk about organizational knowledge. What are the knowledge base of the organization? What is the knowledge base? Every company that is doing something has a knowledge base that makes them who they are. How do they manage these resources? That is 7.1. Then 7.2 now talk about competency of the staff. Are the staff competent? 7.2. The organization must ensure competency of the staff. Must ensure that the staff are competency on the basis of appropriate education, training, or experience. Then A now talk about 7.3, now talk about awareness. How do they create awareness in the organization? 7.4, communication. How do they ensure proper communication? 7.5, documented information. How do they ensure proper documentation? All these are the supporting system to enable us to implement all what we have planned in operation. Then what does clause 8 talk about? This clause 8, this is what we have here is just an explanation. I will tell you right from the little head I have what clause 8 talks about. Clause 8.1 is correct. Operational planning and control. How did they carry out their operation in their organization? How did they plan the control? Because in clause 6, you've already planned. You've already planned how you want to run your processes. Now, clause 8 is when you're now implementing operational planning and control, meaning that you are ensuring that they are not like what Mr. Ekato asked the other time. They don't only have a document that talks about the SOP, but when they are implementing it based on what has been written. Operational planning and controlling it in line with how they are planned to do it. To ensure that they deliver their products and services and to consistently meet that customers and regulatory requirements. It is where we do the do. A lot of too much talk, too much write-up. Implementing it in line with how you have planned it. Plus 8.1 now talks about operational planning and control. Planning, implementing, and controlling the processes that is needed to meet the requirement of the standard. Establishing the criteria. How do we run this organization? How do we carry out this process? How do we carry out this operation? How do you carry out these tasks? In every unit, every department, there must be standard operating procedures. Implementing the control in line with how you want to address the risk and maintaining proper documentation of these processes. Then we now have clause 8.2, which now breaks it down how they want to carry out that operation. Number 1, what is the requirement? 8.2 talks about requirement for products and services, which is based on the market need. It can be what the market needs from you, or what a customer needs from you, what a client needs from you. You don't want what I ordered versus what I got. Many of us will go and sew clothes. We give them a design. Then at the end of the day, they give us something else. Many houses that they have constructed today, at the end of the day, what they design is not what they put in place. They will start adjusting, they will start breaking, they will start, especially in construction companies. You will see many of those things happening. Why? Because they did not define the requirements for the product services. It is not well defined. The standard wants organization to define the requirement for product services. It can be internal. This is what we are manufacturing. iPhone 15 can never be the same as iPhone 14, no matter how similar they are. There is a design, there is a requirement for the product. Service that you want to deliver, there's a requirement for the service. Every company must define. It might be a continuous thing, just like a manufacturing plant that they continuously produce, and it can be a one-off thing, just like a construction company that will build for A, different from what they build for B. Every design is unique in its own. Whatever it is, there must be requirements for the product and services. We talk about cost, and how do you get that? You communicate with the customer. What does the customer need? Or what have you created for the customer? That's why you will see iPhone. Anytime they want to launch a new phone, they will communicate with their customers. They will launch it. That is launching. Communicating their product and service information. It can even be internal. I'm just giving big example. It can even be internally. This is what the customer wants. In fact, it's as simple as you going to Ematos, you going to Just Right or Chop Right to go and buy something. When you have brought all those products that you want to buy, and you get to the cashier, they will type them out, and you will see it written you will see it written. Anyone that you don't want, you take it out. That is customer communication to tell you that this is what you have chosen to buy. There must be a process for communication. Advertisement is part of communication. Before you all join this class, you saw an advert, and the process to make inquiries. Then after the requirement for product and services, next one that the standard now says is that designing of that product and services, that is for those that do design and development, like design companies, engineering companies, construction companies, website, those that design websites. Any company that deals with design and development, they must give, after they have established the requirement, which is clause 8.2, then 8.2 now says that they can now design and develop these products and services. But when you are now designing and developing it, It is not everything that you can do yourself. Sometimes you need external providers, control of external provision of goods and services. Who are the external providers? How do you manage your clients, your contractors, your suppliers? Yes, Coca-Cola produces Coke, but the sugar that they use is not produced by them. They outsource the sugar, but before the sugar comes in, they will test it to be sure that what the sugar that they are producing that they are bringing to them, it will meet up with their own requirements to ensure that they constantly meet the customer satisfaction index. Are we flowing? Then 8.5 now talks about production and service provision. Producing those goods, providing them after you have done it, provide everything together. The 8.6 now talk about after you are providing, at the point of releasing. You know, you can produce. Producing is one thing. After producing, at the point of releasing, there must be requirement for release of these products and services. What should we release? What should we not release? How are we doing our check on check? Verifying the conformity of the product before releasing. Authorizing the release, who approve the final release of the product to ensure that it meets up with their standard. Then if some does not meet up with the standard, how do we control the non-conforming output? This is what the standard wants us to do. This is what the standard is talking about. You can see that it is well detailed. Then clause 9 I talk about check, where we do the performance evaluation, where we evaluate the performance of our processes. You know, we say plan, do, check, act. Planning to do, then after you have done, you must check. Some are daily. 9.1 is daily. Monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. I call it MMAE. I want you to write MMAE in the chat room. Monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. This is the most common that we do. I want us to write in the chat room. Monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. This is the most common that we do. On a regular basis, we do inspection. We check. We do quality analysis from the raw material to the final product. That is one checking. The equipment that is being used to run this manufacturing, to run this product, we carry out checks on them. We monitor them to be sure that they are in good condition, because they can fail us at any time and it can cause delay in the production, and it can even affect the quality of the product that we are delivering. When an equipment starts manufacturing, it starts bringing errors. It starts creating issues. That is why there must be regular check of our processes. It's not only that. Part of the input into your process is the staff. That is why we talk about competency. Are they competent? How does the HR department, which is the department that is in charge, and regularly monitors the competency of the quality analysts, competency of the operators, competency of the staff that they are bringing into the organization, to ensure that there is consistency in meeting the customer satisfaction? Then 9.2 now talk about internal audit, which is less frequent. Some companies do it once in a year, some do it twice in a year, some do it quarterly, some do it every month, depending on the complexity of your processes. Internal audit is also there. Internal audit of your processes. Then the last, which is the third one, is management review. Carrying out and establishing effective management review for the organization. Then we now have clause 10 that talks about improvement, continual improvement, addressing non-conformities, and what is the process for addressing non-conformities? What is the process for carrying out corrective action and improvement of the processes? So you will see that from clause 4 that talks about context of the organization, which is understanding the organization and its context, the internal and external issues of the organization, the internal and external issues of the organization, their interested parties. Who are their interested parties? What is the interest of their interested parties? What do they expect them to do as an organization? Then 4.3 now talks about the scope itself, because the scope we talk about is what tells us what you run in the organization. It tells us your boundary line. It tells us your operation, your product, your services, your processes, and what you do. It is from understanding your internal and external issues and your interested party that you're able to define your scope and your processes. Then clause 5 now talk about the leadership of the organization. 5.1, leadership, statement of leadership. The organization shall provide resources, ensure competency, they must do this, they must do that, they must do this, they must do that. We shall, you see it. Every company must, the standard is there, it is clear. Go to clause 5.1. If you go now to clause 5.1, you will see those requirements in 5.1. Organization shall ensure continuous improvement, they shall provide resources, they shall do this, ensure customer satisfaction, they shall, everything is there. The 5.2 now says, put it down as a statement, policy statement of your commitment. And those requirements are there. We'll still talk about each of them. Then 5.3 now talks about roles and responsibilities of everyone. What are the roles and what are the responsibilities? You can see that I've been on this slide for more than 20 minutes. What are the roles and what are the responsibilities to achieve the policy? So leadership is about creating the human part, the human structure, the policy, the commitment, and roles and responsibilities of what you are going to do. Then clause 6 now talk about the main planning, action that you want to put in place to address those risks. What are the actions that you are putting in place to address the various risks that you can have in your business? What are the various risks that are present there? How do you address these risks? Action to address risk and opportunities. Then 6.2 now talk about the objectives. Your objective is a very important part, because when you say you want to put actions in place to address the risk, what do you want to achieve? Your objective. That is why your objective must be in line with the policy. And your policy is to set the framework of the objective. While you Adegoke did not say it, the standard says it. Go and read it, clause 5.2. It says the quality policy must set the framework for setting objectives. While also, if you go to clause 6.2, it says that your objective must be in line with your policy. They are like brothers and sisters. They are like younger brother, junior brother and senior brother. They are like friends. They work together. Your policy must set the tone for your objectives. You set smart objectives. We still talk about it. The 6.3 now talk about planning of changes. Changes can occur. Technologically, a lot of things have changed. Things are moving in dynamism. There is change, there is improvement. Look at where we were many years ago. Look at where we are now. Many businesses have cracked today. They have crashed today because they refuse to change, to plan for changes that could occur, to move with the market trends. That is one part of change. Another part of change is when you are producing, there can be changes. Especially when it comes to design and development. You can design A, at the point of construction, you are seeing that there is a need for us to adjust. How do you properly plan for these changes? This is how then from there it goes to clause 7, support, clause 8, operation, clause 9, performance evaluation, and clause 10, improvement. You must be familiar with this standard. So these requirements are there to help you understand how it meets up with the ISO standard. From understanding the concept of the organization, what the organization is into, what they do, their processes, their activities, their products and services, to the leadership that helps to run the organization, to the proper planning of their processes based on what their context is all about, to address the risks and opportunities, to set smart objectives, then to provide resources, supporting system that will be used to implement what has been planned, to carry out the operation in clause 8 based on what has been planned. The middle point is the supporting system that is needed, which we have spoken about, the RCACD, resources, competence, awareness, communication, and documented information. Then regularly checking the processes. Remember once again, your plan phase has 3 clauses, clause 4, 5, and 6. Your do phase has 2 clauses, clause 7 and 8. Then clause 9 has, a check phase has 1 clause, which is clause 9, that talks about how do you carry out performance evaluation, regular monitoring, internal audit and improvement, and internal audit and management review. Then clause 10 I talk about, and from that internal audit, from that monitoring, from that management review, there will always be opportunities for us to improve the processes. Are we together in this class? And like I've said again, I want to reiterate, we have 10 clauses. the first three clauses is not certified, it is not auditable. It's not auditable. You don't audit clause 1, clause 2, clause 3. It's just like if you buy a book, you will see the first page is acknowledgement, dedication, text and definition, or what table of content. Something similar is what we have here. The first three clauses is detail the scope of the standard. This is talking about the scope of the standard, not the scope of the management system. What you have in clause 4.3 is the scope of the management system, talking about the clauses itself. But this is talking about this, what the standard is all about, what that document is all about, the 2001 document. Then clause 2 is talking about normative references, terms and vocabularies, fundamentals to help you to understand the standard. And clause 3 is talking about terms and definitions that relates to ISO 9001. But where we started our discussion is from clause 4, which I have explained, that talks about what the company is all about, the strategy of the business, what they do in the organization. This clause establishes the context of the quality management system and how the business strategy supports it. Understanding the basis of the organization to identify factors and parties in their environment that can support their operation. That is where we talk about interested parties. For example, now someone mentioned logistics. Who are your interested parties in logistics? Those agbero that will disturb you, the interested parties. The vendor is an interested party. The driver is an interested party. The mechanic that will maintain the bikes is an interested party. Regulatory bodies, they're interested parties. You understand your interested parties that could affect your environment for that support your operation. The starting point is to identify all the external and internal issues that are relevant to your quality management system. What are the internal issues? Most companies will use SWOT analysis. For external, they will use PES2. SWOT analysis means strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. What are the strengths in the organization? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities? What are the threats? Then you need to establish the interested parties that are relevant to your QMS. Who are the interested parties, internally and externally? Some can call it stakeholders, whatever you call them. You need to decide on the scope of your QMS. So from here, you are now go to clause 4.3 that talks about the scope. These first two, 4.1 and 4.2, that talks about your internal and external issues and your interested parties. They help you to define your scope, what you do, what are your functions, what are your processes. So you must show how you establish, how you implement, how you maintain, and continually improve your quality management system in relation to the standard. How have you established your quality management system? How have you planned it? How have you implemented it? And how have you continuously improved this management system? That is what clause 4.4 is talking about. To ensure that you establish a good and effective system. And like I've said, leadership is about top management, ensuring commitment, establishing policies, establishing policies, and ensuring that they focus on customer satisfaction. Because that is the bottom line. Customer engagement and top management need to show how this is enhanced. They will also need to show the organization's internal strength and weaknesses and how they would have an impact on the product and services. So they need to understand the risk that relates with each processes, every process. And we are talking about process, we're not talking about just the operational unit. We're talking about every department, the HR, the logistics, the legal, the finance, the maintenance, the production, supply chain. Every department has a role to play to effectively run an effective management system. To help them to manage or transfer risk, the top management shall assign relevant responsibilities. That is clause 5.3 that talks about roles and responsibilities and authorities. And they remain accountable to ensure an effective management system. Then clause 6 is about planning, which I was talking about. Planning. How they plan to address risk and opportunity. We call it action to address risk and opportunity. If you look at the standard, it makes reference to clause 4.1 and 4.2. It says that for you to be able to understand your 6.1, that is the action to address the risks and opportunities, you must make reference to your 4.1, your context. Because like I told you, context differs. 4.2, make reference to 4.2 and 4.3 because they differ. What the context of a manufacturing company is different from the context of a logistic company. Is different from the context of an oil and gas company. Every company have their own context, and that context will tell us the kind of risk that you will be facing and how you want to address it. You must ensure that you properly monitor your action to address risks and opportunities. Manage and communicate it across the industries, across the organization. And 6.2 now talk about setting objectives. You must set smart objectives. You must set reasonably objectives and how you want to achieve them. And it also talk about 6.3 that says plan of changes. What are the changes that could occur in your processes, in your activities? Are we together? There's Clause 7 talk about support, which I've already explained to us. What are the supports that are needed to run the activities, the operational planning and control? All right. The operational planning and control, which I've already explained from 8.1 that talks about operational planning and control, 8.2 that talks about requirement for products and services, then 8.3 now talks about design and development of those products and services, 8.4 now talks about control of external provider services, then 8.5 now talks about product and service provision, then 8.6 now talks about release of products and services. The 8.7 now talks about addressing non-conforming output. It is very simple, as I've explained it the other time. Because where it starts from is 8.1, operational planning and control. What are we doing? What are the risks? How do we want to control it in every process? Then 8.2 now talks about requirements for those products. What are the requirements? What do you want to do? What are we doing? What are the requirements to get it done? The 8.3 now talks about 8.2 talks about requirement for those products and services. Then 8.3 now talk about the design and development. When you have already have your requirements, for example, you want to sew a cloth, you want to sew a brother, you will go to the tailor. Okay, these are the things that I want to do. This is the design. This is the requirement. These are the things I want to put in place. Then number 8.3 now talk about the design and development, designing it, crafting it out to ensure that it's in line with what you want them to sew for you. They will communicate it to you. They will show you the samples. Okay, this is what I want. This is the material that I want. This is how I want you to sew it. Then the tailor who wants to sew it now talk about 8.4, which now talk about control of external provider services. Maybe you want to sew better now. That thing or what they call it that they use to do that design, most tailors don't do it. They have to outsource it. They must communicate what you want to those persons that they outsource it to ensure that they design exactly what you want. Then 8.5 now talk about, at the end of the day, after they have now controlled that external provider product and services, then we now have 8.5 that now talk about now providing it for you, finalizing it. The working instruction, the competency, infrastructure that is needed, producing what you want, provision of that services. Then after that, the process for releasing it to you, the final checks to be sure that it's in line with what you want them to do for you in terms of your length, in terms of your breadth, in terms of your measurement, in terms of the design, in terms of the material. Does it meet what this man wants us to design for him? Then if they are non-conforming one, then 8.7 now talks about control of non-conforming. How do you do the adjustment? Oh, the tie is too tight. The tie is too tight. How do we adjust it? The arm is too big. How do we adjust it? How do we address those non-conforming products and prevent a reoccurrence? Where at the point of sewing this cloth, did we have this error? Is it that the tape that was used to measure his tie was wrong, or it is the person who wrote it down that wrote the wrong thing, or it's the person who was sewing it that didn't follow who was cutting the material that didn't follow the measurement? Where along the line of producing that cloth did we have this error? That is what operational planning and control is talking about, to ensure that we consistently provide the right quality of the product and services, the performance evaluation and monitoring of our process to ensure consistency in delivering the right product. So now, let's go to our next break. This is 12:15. By 12:30, by God's grace, we shall continue with this wonderful class. So 12:30, please let us be back. We'll continue with managing an audit program. Thank you, and God bless you. Now let's talk about auditing. We've spoke so much about some requirement of the ISO standard, which we just spoke about in brief, which we are still going to talk more about later. Now, the audit activity itself, we talk about auditing as an activity. The audit activity itself needs to be properly managed in such a way that you are able to get the best out of the auditing activity. So that you can get the best out of the auditing activity. That is why for every audit activity, there are informations that are needed, and there are resources that are needed to enable you carry out an audit that is effective, that is efficient, and that will make you to complete the audit within the required time frame. What are those information that is needed to carry out an audit program? Number one, I call this trial, I call it the CSO. I want to try CSO in the chat room. I want you to write CSO in the chat room. I want you to write CSO in the chat room. What does C means? C means criteria. C means criteria. Criteria. Every audit program will have a criteria. So you must understand for your audit program, it must have a criteria. S means the scope of the audit. Every audit will have a scope where you want to audit what you want to audit. Then O, the objective, the why you want to audit. We are going to list this thing out one after the other. We will discuss them as we go on in this class. So you have the object, you always see the CSO. There are basic information that you must need for every audit. The objective of the audit, the risks and opportunities that relates to the audit, the scope of the audit, what is the scope, what is the boundary, the extent, the location of each audit, the schedule of the audit. The audit is how many days? Is it internal audit or external audit? What criteria are you auditing against? And what is the audit method? What is the criteria for selecting of audit team and relevant documented information? Now, we are going to talk about each and every one of them one after the other. But before then, there is a process flow. There is a flow of how audit used to do. Auditing is of two sides. Auditing has two sides. Most times, sorry. Auditing has two sides. Most times you only see one side. We only talk about one side. We only make reference to one side, but we do not always see the other side. What is the side I'm talking about? What is the side I'm talking about? Just like for an event, every event has two sides. The one that you see the MC coordinate, that you see the MC, you coordinate it. And the side that the event planner does, that we hardly see. The event planner part is one that plans everything. That plans the MC, who the MC is, that plans the cook, the feeding, the breakfast, the lunch, that plans the, what's it called? The oil to be used, the dress code, every single thing about that party, the event planner will plan it. That is the side that we do not see. There is a back-end plan that goes to every event. The same way there is a back-end plan or back-end series of activities that goes behind the scene for every audit. Most times it is the lower part that we see, the part where they initiate the audit. Remember we talked about the stages of audit. The part where they will initiate the audit, the part where they will prepare audit report, prepare for audit activity, the part where they will conduct audit activity and document review, the part where they will prepare and distribute audit reports, the part where they will complete the audit, and the part where they will conduct any follow-up if it's required. But nobody sees the upper part. What is the upper part? The part where they establish audit program objective. This audit that we want to do, what is the objective of this audit? The audit program objective must be known. This is based on the guideline of ISO 19011. The guideline for auditing must be known. Establishing the audit program objective. Why are we doing this audit? Then determine and evaluating audit program risks and opportunities. What are the risks that is involved in this audit? Just like we mentioned here, part of the information that is needed for your audit. Objective of the audit program. That's where it starts from. What do you want to achieve? There's a reason behind every audit. There's a reason why an audit is to be done. And what are the risks and opportunities that relates to that particular audit? What are the risks? When we say risk, things that can affect the success of the audit. Then from these two, you now establish the audit program. After establishing what the audit program will look like, what you want to do for the audit program, then you now implement it. It's at the point of implementing that you now see them coming to your facility to come and carry out these audit activities. But as they are implementing the audit program, they are also monitoring it, because it's also a process on its own. It is just like schools. Just like schools that give student examination, that give students tests. But these schools themselves still monitor the process of setting the exam questions to ensure that it is in line with best practice. The same way the audit activity too is being monitored so that they can always improve in how they carry out their audit program. And there will be review and improvement of the audit program. So there is an upper cycle of where the objective of the audit is being discussed. The risk that can affect success of the audit is being discussed, and they use it to establish the audit program, and they implement the audit program. Is when they implement the audit program that they will now come to your facility, they will prepare audit report, they will prepare audit activity, conduct audit, prepare report, share report, and conduct follow-up. As they are doing all these things, they are also, because what they are implementing, it is what has been established by the audit program manager, who is at the upper part. What is happening back end? The monitoring of the audit program and reviewing and improving of the audit program. Like the first thing that I mentioned here, establishing audit program objective. Every audit program has an objective. Every audit program has a reason why the audit is being done. Audit program objective can be based on consideration of the following. What are we looking at for this audit program? What are we looking at for this audit program? What are we considering for this audit program? What are we considering for this audit program? Needs and expectation of relevant interested parties. What are the needs? What are the expectations of these interested parties, both external and internal? When you want to decide on the objective of the audit, why are we doing this audit? Every audit has a reason. Every audit has a why. You must consider the needs and what are the expectations of interested parties. What are the characteristics and requirements for processes? When you are setting audit program objective, it can be based on consideration of the characteristics of and the requirement for the processes, products, and services. It might be that there are some requirements that you want to meet that you feel like you need to audit your processes. You need to consider that. Management system requirement is a requirement of ISO 9001 under clause 9.2 to carry out internal audit. Need for evaluation of external provider. The objective of your audit may be that you want to carry out a second party audit for your supplier. You want to carry out an audit for your vendor. That can be what you are considering to do an audit. You are considering the evaluation, you are considering your external provider, you need evaluation, you need to evaluate your external provider. You are considering the level of performance and maturity of the management system. These are part of what you will consider when you are setting the objective of the audit. Why are we doing this audit? It can be because of identifying risks and opportunities to the auditee or result of previous audit. Maybe from the previous audit that has been done, you see that there's a need to carry out another audit, and you go ahead to carry out this audit. The message is simple. Every audit will have an objective. And when we say objective, it means that there is a reason why you are carrying out this audit activity. Establishing audit program objective can include the following: identifying opportunities for improvement of the management system. Your audit objective can be to identify opportunities for improvement. The reason why we are doing this audit is because we want to see how we can improve in our process. An audit can be because we want to evaluate the capability of the auditee to determine its context, or also determine their risks and opportunities. Has this company been able to understand their context, what they do, their processes, and the likes? How do they go about it? Evaluating the capability of the auditee to determine their context and to identify their risks and opportunities and action to address them. Has the auditee been able to determine their context of the organization, that is their clause 4, and are they be able to determine their risks and opportunities, that is their clause 6.1, and to identify and implement effective actions to address them? Do they understand their business risk? Do they understand what are the risks that can affect their products, that can affect their services, that can affect their management system? And are they putting control measures in place to implement them effectively, to implement the actions? It can be that the audit can be for regulatory requirements. You want to see how well they are meeting up with regulatory requirements. That can be an objective of the audit. So the bottom line is there is a reason for every audit. There is a reason for every audit. Ascertain conformity to all relevant requirements, obtain and maintain confidence in the capability of an external provider. A company can decide to audit themselves based on requirement of a particular client, so that they can be sure that they are still meeting up with the requirement of that client. Let me come again. A company can decide to audit themselves in order to check if they are still meeting up with the standard of that particular client. It can also be to determine the continued stability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the management system, or to evaluate the capability and alignment of the MS, management system objective, with the strategic direction of the organization. Then after they have determined the objective, the next one is to determine and evaluate audit program risks and opportunities. What is the reason for every audit? For every audit, there is an objective, and also there are risks that can affect the success of the audit. One of those common risks is poor planning. So before you carry out your audit activity, you must first identify what are the risks that could affect this audit, that could prevent it from being successful, and what can we do about it? One of them is poor planning. Failure to set relevant objectives or determine the extent, the number, the duration, the location, and the schedule of the audit. When they don't plan properly, when they don't understand their context, when they don't set the right objective, they don't even know the number of days, the duration, the location of the audit, then the audit is already a failure. If they don't provide enough resources, it can affect the success of the audit. When there's no provision of enough resources, it can affect the success of the audit. That's what we are saying there. Anything can affect the success of an audit, which is the risk. That's why every risk must be looked into and become an opportunity to improve the audit or to get the audit done. Resources, incompetent staff too. Selecting of audit team. Imagine that they don't select people that have experience in the standard to go and audit. They will not come up with anything meaningful. There's no enough time. Equipment is not available. There's no training for developing the audit program. Poor communication. Poor communication and poor implementation of the processes. When there's lack of coordination of the audit with the audit program, they are not following the audit plan. They're just doing the audit the way they like. There will be issues. Control of documented information. Ineffective examination of the necessary documentation required by auditors and interested parties. Imagine that they need a checklist to audit a particular department, but the checklist is not available. They need a questionnaire to interview someone, it's not available. The audit report is not, the audit report table is not available. Non-conformity report is not available. It will affect the audit itself. Ineffective determination of the necessary documented information required for auditors and relevant interested parties, or failure to protect these audit records to determine audit program effectiveness. Then monitoring, reviewing, and improving of the audit program, and availability and cooperation of the auditee. This is also a major risk. You see that sometimes you go for audit, the auditee is not available, the auditee is busy, the auditee is in a meeting. At the end of the day, they have to adjust schedule, which finally affect the success of the audit. How then do you improve your audit program? You can allow multiple audits to be conducted in a single visit, minimizing time and distance traveled on site. That is why during audit, auditors will always stay close to the company that they are auditing. Why? Because they want to minimize the time and distance traveled to site. They're matching the level of competence of the audit team to the level of competence needed to achieve the objective. What is the level of competence that is needed for the audit team? Ensuring that they have the right competency and the competency is put into consideration when they are carrying out the audit program, because that will only help us to improve the audit program. And aligning audit days with the availability of key auditing staff. Then after the first one again, in the upper part of what the audit program manager does is establishing the audit program objective, which we are already talking about. The second one is establishing audit programs and opportunities. Then the next now is establishing the audit program itself. So when you are establishing an audit program as an auditor, you must understand that you need to communicate the relevant part of the audit program, including the risk involved, to every interested party. Inform them about the progress when you are carrying out the audit, when the audit is going on, is ongoing, using established external and internal communication channels. There must be proper communication between an auditor and the auditee and every other interested party during the audit. Proper communication, effective communication must be done when setting audit objective, when you are planning, establishing your audit program. Then defining objectives, scope, and criteria. Remember I told you about the CSO. When you are the audit program manager, you must define what the CSO is. Define the scope, the objective, and the criteria that you're auditing against. Then select the audit method. What is the method of auditing? Is it physical? Is it virtual? We will talk about that later. Then coordination and schedule audit and other activities relevant to the audit program. There must be proper schedule of the audit program. There must be proper schedule of the audit program. There must be proper planning of the audit program. Coordinate and schedule audit and other activities relevant to the audit program. You must properly schedule it, communicate it. Monday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. opening meeting with top management and process owners. Monday, 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. auditing of HR. Monday, 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. auditing of engineering. Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. supply chain. Like that, you must schedule your audit and it must be properly communicated. Then ensure the audit team have the necessary competence. When you're establishing your audit program, competency of the audit team is a very important part of the audit activity. Then ensure necessary individual and overall resources to the audit team. What do we need to carry out the audit? Coordination of the audit in line with the audit program, ensuring that they manage all risk and ensure relevant documentation regarding the auditing activity is properly managed and maintained. Then define and implement the operational control necessary for auditing program monitoring. Defining and implementing operational control to ensure that you monitor the audit. As an audit program manager, someone that is managing the audit program, just like an event planner will do, is going to ensure that the bottom line is ensure that everything goes on well. Proper planning of the audit, proper execution, the right competence is there, they understand the scope, they define the objective, they define the criteria, they select the audit method, and they review the audit program in order to improve on that audit program. All these are what they will put in place in order to establish the audit program itself. Then after this, let's now talk about the audit objective. I've been talking about the CSO. What is the objective? We've spoken about it before. It's similar to the program objective. Audit objective defines what is to be accomplished by the individual audit and may include the following. Why are we doing the audit? What is the reason behind the audit, which we have already explained the other time? It can be that you are doing an audit in order to determine the extent of your conformity to the management system requirements. You want to see how well you have met up with the criteria. That can be the reason for an audit. You want to evaluate the capability of the management system to assist companies in meeting their regulatory requirements. Is this management system? Is this quality management system helping the company, the organization, to meet up with relevant regulatory and statutory requirements? Another requirement, evaluation of the effectiveness of the management system in meeting the intended result, then identification of opportunities for improvement, then evaluation of the suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of the management system with respect to the context and the direction of the organization. What we are saying here is simple. Every audit has an objective. The objective of the audit is the reason why you are doing the audit. It might be because you want to see how effective you are in meeting up with your intended result. It might be because you want to see how the company is meeting up with your management system requirement. It might be because they want to see how they meet up with regulatory requirement. It might be they want to see how they have been able to conform to the management system requirement. It can be because they want to check how they are able to prepare for their clients, be confident as an external provider. Evaluation of the capability of the management system to establish and achieve objectives and effectively address the risks and opportunities in a changing context, including the implementation of these related actions. So what are we saying? What we are saying here is that every audit has an objective. And the objective must be put at the back of our mind while we are carrying out our audit activity. What is scope? The scope is talking about the boundary lines. It's talking about the boundary lines. It's talking about the four walls, what we are auditing. That is the scope. It's talking about what we are auditing, why we are auditing. Sorry, the what, which areas are we auditing? The why is the objective. Objective is talking about the why. This is talking about what. What are we auditing? Who are we auditing? How are we auditing? The location, the functions, the activities, the processes that you are auditing. A company can have 10 different locations and they are auditing only one. A company can have 15 processes and they are auditing maybe just some of the processes. You must audit within the scope of the audit. Processes to be audited and time period covered by this particular audit. Then the criteria. What are you auditing against? What is the standard that you are auditing against? Is it applicable policies? Policies can be a criteria. It can be processes. It can be SOPs. It can be performance criteria. They can audit against the performance criteria. That can be an audit. Performance criteria. It can be an objective. They want to audit against the set objective. You say you are going to meet up with this objective. Now, these are criteria for auditing you. Have you been able to meet up with them? They start auditing and scrutinizing them. Statutory and regulatory requirement. Management system requirement. ISO 9001 standard is also a criteria. Set code of conduct. Regulations like NAFDAC Act. In the aviation industry, Aviation Act. In the maritime industry, Maritime Act. In the oil and gas industry, there are a lot of them. NMDPRA regulations and the NUPRC regulation and the like. Other plan arrangement. The idea is information regarding the context and risks and opportunities. The idea here is that the criteria is what you are auditing against and it must be properly defined. Another thing that we also need to put into consideration is the audit method, which we'll still talk about more later. Audit is not only physical. Some part of audit can be done virtually. Audit involves a series of activities from the opening meeting to the interview to the document review to the inspections to the to the closing meeting to the sampling exercise. Because they carry out sampling. Many of these tasks can be done remotely. Opening meeting, for example, just like we're having a class now. Closing meeting, interviews, document review, and so many other things can be done. So we can have audit can be performed on site or off site, that is remotely, or a combination. That is why we use this method in a balanced way, based on, among others, consideration of associated risks and opportunities. We should be able to balance them together, both physical and virtual. When you're able to balance them together, they will now be talking about the audit team members. Selection of the audit team members. Remember, I told you that I'm going to explain each and every one of these. Let me take you to where I said. This that I said I'm going to explain. We have explained objectives of the audit program. We have explained risks and opportunities. What are those things that can affect success of the audit? You have explained what scope means. Scope means the boundary line, the extent, the functions, the processes, the units, whatever you are auditing, you must audit within the defined scope. Then the next one is the schedule, meaning the duration of the audit. Then the audit type, is it internal? We have internal audit and external audit, which we have already explained already. We said internal audit is also self-audit, while external audit can be second party or third party. And we explained all these things. Audit criteria has been explained. The audit method. Audit can be virtual or physical. I've explained what virtual means. I've explained what physical means. Then criteria for selecting auditing members, which is what I'm explaining now. How do you select auditing members? The individual that manage the audit program should appoint the members of the audit team, including the team leader and technical experts needed for the specific audit. We must ensure that we put the right competency in the right context for the right job that is to be done, including the audit team leader who leads the audit and any technical expert that is needed for a specific audit. An audit team should be selected taking into account the competency needed to achieve the objective of the individual audit? What is the competency needed to achieve the audit? An audit is for ISO 9001. The auditors must have knowledge in ISO 9001. The process and within the defined audit scope. If there is only one auditor, this auditor should perform the job of an audit team leader because he's the only one doing the audit, so he will also automatically be the audit team leader. Technical expert too can be needed in some kind of complex audit where there are specific knowledge areas that only technical experts that can actually assist the auditors. Now, how do you ensure that you have competent people? Because it's not just about selecting anybody to become an audit team member. It's about selecting people with the right competence. To ensure the overall competence of the audit team, the following should be performed. Number one, you should identify the competence that is needed to achieve the objective. For this particular audit, what is the competence that is needed for us to make this audit successful? Okay, we need someone this audit is for a power generation company. We need a technical expert who understands power generation. Okay, this audit is a oil and gas downstream. We need someone who is downstream. They must identify the competency that is needed to achieve the objective of the audit. Then they will now select the auditing member so that that competency that is needed is present in the audit team. That's what we are saying here. In deciding the size and composition of the audit team for the specific audit, they should consider the following: the competency that is needed to achieve the objective, taking into account the scope and the criteria. I've already mentioned that. The complexity of the audit. The more complex the audit is, the more auditor that you will need. The more complex the audit is, the more auditors that you will need. Then whether the audit is a combined or joint audit. Is it a combined audit or is it a joint audit? That's also very important. Is it a combined audit or is it a joint audit? Very, very important. When we say combined, it means that they are auditing ISO 9001 and also 14001 together, it can be a regulatory requirement or some other kind of audit or some other kind of management system. Then we have joint audit. Joint audit can mean you are being audited by maybe a certification body, then a regulatory body too is auditing you at the same time. They are auditing you, the two bodies, certification body and the regulatory body. Maybe you are into pharmaceutical product now. Certification body is auditing you, and what's it called? NAFDAC too has come to audit you at the same time. They come together to come and audit you as a joint audit. Selection of the audit team, the audit method. When you are selecting the composition of your audit, you should know this. You should know the audit method that is being going to use. If it's going to be virtual, you are going to select auditors that have experience in technology. Ensure objectivity and impartiality to avoid any conflict of interest of the audit process. Confidential objectivity and impartiality is very important because especially when it comes to impartiality, most auditors are consultants too, and a consultant might be mistakenly called to come and audit an organization an auditor can be mistakenly called just for them to realize that the auditor that they called is also a consultant for that same company. So that will lead to conflict of interest. That is why there must and there should be impartiality to avoid conflict of interest of the audit process. The ability of the audit team member to work and interact effectively with representatives. Auditors should have soft skills. They should not be arrogant, stepping on toes, or working rudely or arrogantly because they are auditors. You should be able to work effectively and interact with the representative of the auditee and relevant interested parties. You should be able to work with them, have good communication. If the relevant internal and external issues such as language barrier of the audit and social under auditing social and cultural characteristics, these issues may be addressed either by the auditor's own skill or through the support of a technical expert, also considering the need for interpreters. You should understand when you are selecting your auditors, you should also consider the language. If you want to go and do audit in the north, for example, and you have auditors that can speak that language or that have lived in the north before, it's an advantage. You should consider them, give them priority than those that don't understand that language or haven't lived there, as far as they have the same level of competence that is needed to carry out the job. Are we together? And the auditees' social and cultural characteristics. Then type and complexity of the processes that you want to audit. In the auditing members, when it comes to auditing member, the other part of them all is the auditing leader. I want to ask a question. What's the difference between audit team leader and lead auditor? What's the difference between audit team leader and lead auditor? Who's going to try? Difference between audit team leader and lead auditor. All right, let's move on because of time. Now, the audit team leader. Okay, Madam Christiana, please go ahead.
What I can point out for a lead auditor is a qualified individual. That's how, for my own understanding, that's any lead auditor must be qualified individual.
What about audit team leader?
Okay, audit team leader may have like someone assigned, by the company that has a competence.
Okay, you are trying. I like the fact that you try every time because there is no wrong answer in the class. Now, thank you very much. Any other person before I differentiate it? Any
Good
other person?
afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, let me attempt. Like she said, an audit team leader is who is in charge of putting the audit team together to coordinate an audit exercise. But from my own understanding, the lead auditor, first of all, is he can be external and he can also be internal.
Okay. All right, let me go ahead. Thank you so much for your input. Sincerely appreciated. It means that we are following the class. So now, when we say when we say audit team leader, now audit, I want to use the best, simplest example that will get it once and for all. Sometimes an audit team leader can also be the lead auditor. But in cases of complex audit, when we have many auditors, let's say we have 12 auditors now, or let's say we have 12 auditors. Now they now divide them into groups. 3, 3, 3, 3. That is for group. Group A, Group B, Group C, and Group D. Group A, we have a head. Group B, we have a head. Group C, we have a head. Group D, we have a head. And there's an overall person that will be in charge of all of them. Now, a lead auditor is the one that head each group. Group A, we have a lead auditor. They are all auditors, but there's a lead auditor. Are you getting it? They are all auditors. Group A has 3 auditors, but there's a lead auditor that leads them. Group B has auditor, but there's a lead auditor. Group C has auditor, there's a lead auditor. Group D has auditors, there's a lead auditor. Now, all of them, they are all audit team. They now have an audit team leader, someone that lead the whole audit team. Is that explanation simple and clear to understand?
Very well understood.
Thank you. So, but in case where you only have maybe just a group, no division, just a group of people, maybe a group A, just a group A, and they have the auditing leader is also the lead auditor. The lead auditor will also be the auditing leader, unless in rare cases, or unless in some cases where they now select another person to be the auditing leader, apart from the lead auditor. It can happen. They have only one group. They can the audit team leader, they can create somebody, they can establish somebody else, like what Mr. Ekato said. They can establish somebody else to be the audit team leader, separate from the auditor. But generally, when you have multiple groups, there is a lead auditor for each group, and overall, there's always an audit team leader. That is it. Thank you. So to ensure, so we want to talk about the audit team leader, the individual audit to the audit team leader. What are those things that they should communicate to the audit team leader? The first thing is the CSO, like I've always mentioned. Why would they communicate the CSO to the audit team leader? In fact, before we could talk about the audit team leader, what about the auditing organization? What's happening to this thing? Okay, let's talk about the audit team leader. The CSO, objective, scope, and criteria must be communicated to the audit team leader. Then the auditing processes and action method. How are we doing the audit? How should you go about the audit? Because the auditing leader is being sent by the auditing organization or the certification body. They have sent him to go and do the audit. They should also communicate to him the composition of the audit team. Who are those that makes up the audit team? Who are those that makes up the audit team? What is the what makes up, who are those that makes up the audit team? Audit processes and related method. The composition of the audit team. All these things, all this information must be communicated to the audit team leader. The contact and details of the auditee, because they are sending them, let's be realistic, they are sending them to go and do audit. And we are talking about what are those things that should be communicated to them. The details of the auditee, of course, who they want to go and audit, their location, the time frame of the audit, how many days is the audit, when are we doing the audit, what is the composition of the audit, what's the audit schedule, what is the audit schedule, What are those things that we will need for the audit? The resources needed for the audit. How are we able to address the need for evaluating information needed for evaluating and addressing risk? What are those things that could come up with the audit? What are the risks and opportunities? What can affect the success of the audit? All this should be properly communicated. That's exactly what we are talking about. The information which support the audit team leader in their interaction with the auditee for the effectiveness of their audit program. Every information that is needed by the auditee, by the auditor, by the audit team leader must be provided to them in order to carry out their audit effectively. Most especially the CSO, where they want to do the audit, the location of the audit, the process that they want to audit, the schedule of the audit, the resources that they need to carry out the audit, and every other information that is needed to carry out the audit. If other relevant information can even include the reporting language, that is where if they have different languages, what is the reporting language? Which language are we using to report this particular audit? When it's different from the language of the auditor or the auditee or both? Audit reporting output as required and to me to be distributed. How do we distribute the audit report? Who do we send the audit report to? Confidentiality matter as required in the audit program. This must be communicated to them to ensure confidentiality at all time. If there is need for health and safety arrangement for the auditors, maybe they need to induct them, or they need to give them reflective jacket, or they need to give them PPEs, or they need to give them a pass. Whatever health and safety arrangement is needed must be provided. Requirement for travel. If they need to travel, if the audit is going to be in a far location and they will need to travel, every information that is needed for the traveling must be provided. Whatever will make the audit to go on, whatever is needed for the audit must be provided to the audit team leader. Requirement for travel or access to remote areas. If they need to access some areas that are remote and it requires authorization for them to access it, how have they been able to address it? All this must be communicated to them. Then any actions to be reviewed, follow-up actions from previous audit. What are the follow-up actions from the previous audit? Any action to be reviewed, the follow-up action from previous audit. If there's any need for them to do a follow-up from the previous audit, then it should be communicated to them. That's what we are saying. The coordination with other audit activities where they are different teams. At the end of the day, you will come up with an audit result. So in that audit result, the individual that is managing the audit program, what should you look out for in the audit program result? We talk about the upper part the other time, establishing audit program objective, establishing audit programs and opportunities, then establishing determination of audit program objective, determination of audit programs and opportunity, then establishing the audit objective, then implementing the audit program, establishing the audit program, then implementing the audit program, then monitoring of the audit program, then improving on it. So now, why we are managing the audit program results? After they have done the audit, the person managing the audit program should ensure that they do this. We are talking about the outcome now. Evaluation of the achievement of the objective to each audit within the audit program. Were they able to achieve the objective of the audit? Were they able to achieve the reason why the audit was being done? Was the objective of the audit achieved? Do they meet up with the objective of the audit? Because like we said, every audit will have an objective. Every audit will have a reason why it is being done. Every audit will have a reason why it is being carried out. So did they achieve the objective of the audit? If the objective of the audit is to evaluate how effective their management system is, were they able to achieve to know how effective their management system is? Evaluate and approve audit report regarding the fulfillment of the audit scope and objective. Do they fulfill the audit scope? Did they complete the audit based on the scope of the audit and achieve the objective of the audit? Review of the effectiveness of the audit activities, of the action taken to address audit findings. We will still talk about it later. For every audit, there are audit findings. Exactly when there are non-conformities, they are meant to address it. Were they able to review the effectiveness to ensure that when they raise non-conformities for them, they talk about actions, the corrective actions to put in place. And this corrective action that they said they will put in place, is it effective and is it properly addressing the issue? Then distribution of audit reports to relevant interested parties. Who are the interested parties? Have they been distributed the audit report to? Then determination of the necessity for any follow-up if it is part of what, if there is a need for follow-up in the audit. So the person managing the audit program must ensure that they perform these activities. They determine the follow-up, if there's any follow-up. They ensure that they distribute the audit report. They ensure that they close out every non-conformity, and they ensure that they meet up with the objective and fulfill the scope and the objective of the audit. The person managing the audit program should ensure evaluation of the schedule also. Schedule of the audit. Did they meet up with the schedule? If they said the audit was for 3 days, was it completed in 3 days? And the audit program objective has been achieved. How did the auditors do? The audit team members, the audit team leader, the auditor, the lead auditor, the technical expert, did they perform very well in the audit? Because they need to monitor them. We talk about establishing, implementing the audit program and monitoring. These are the things that they are monitoring. Were they competent to actually handle the audit? Did the audit go very well? This is what the person managing the audit program is looking at. So as an audit program manager, you are not just sitting in the office and sending them to go and do the audit. You are monitoring them. The ability of the audit team to implement the audit plan. Are they following the audit plan? Are they working in line with what have been planned? Get feedback from auditors, from auditees, from technical experts, and other relevant parties to be sure that, yes, we are getting feedback to improve in our processes. There's sufficiency and adequacy of documented information in the whole audit process. What is the sufficiency? How adequate are the information? Adequacy of the information in the overall audit process. So what are those factors that can lead to modification of the audit? In audit program, there can be modification. Audit can be modified. For example, audit findings. Maybe from previous audit. Audit findings can lead to modification of the audit program. If the management system is too poor, maybe they plan to use 4 days before, but when they now got there, they now realize that these people that will give 4 days cannot do their job. They have complex processes or the likes, or they have a low maturity of the management system. Then they can try to increase the days, which are lead to modification. Issue of conflict of interest too can be. You can send auditors there now, and when, like I said the other time, one of the auditors can be a consultant to the same company. You have to change the auditor. That's modification. Effectiveness of the audit program, audit scope and audit program scope. Then the auditees management system. The audit management system can also lead to modification of the audit program. The standards or other requirements to which they are committed to. External providers, identify conflict of interest, and the audit client requirement. All this can lead to audit program modification. So let's go for our longer break. By the time we come back, we'll continue with accreditation and certification. Thank you and God bless you. So now we'll be going into accreditation and certification. And we explained to us that, number one, every organization can get certified by a certification body. If we remember this morning, I was making an example of universities and UAC, that is a NUC, National University of Nigeria University Commission, Here we can have an accreditation body, the accredited certification body. Now, just like in universities, where university will graduate students for a particular course, but those courses, they are being accredited. No university will just come up one day and start doing course for a long period of time without going through the process of accreditation to be accredited those courses by NUC. So NUC is the higher body that accredits universities to take courses that they deliver to students. The same thing that we have certification bodies like Bureau Veritas, TUV, and so many of them that certify organizations. However, there is a higher authority that accredits these certification bodies for them to be able to certify organizations. So this chart is used to demonstrate the hierarchy and the guiding documentation. You see the documentations here now. Companies, for example, they will certify organizations to ISO 9001 quality management system. They will certify companies to that. However, these certification bodies also have requirements that they need to meet before they can be able to continuously certify organizations. So these certification bodies need to conform to ISO 17021. This ISO 17021 is a requirement that is expected for certification bodies to meet up with, because accreditation body verifies the certification bodies based on this requirement established in ISO 17021. These certification bodies conduct their activity in accordance to established guidelines. The same way the organizations that want to get certified to ISO 9001, we meet up with the requirement of the standard. It's the same way these certification bodies to also have requirements that they need to meet before they can be accredited. And that is ISO 17021, which is the hierarchy, which is a guideline for accrediting these certification bodies. So we have accreditation body at the top. Then we have these accreditation bodies giving authority to certification bodies. And the authority is based on how the certification body is able to implement ISO 7021. Now, this certification body now certify organizations. And this certification that they give the organization is based on how the organizations are able to meet up with ISO 9001 quality management system. So when we say accreditation, what do we mean? It's a kind of formal recognition that is given for a type of work that is done by a company and its compliance to a standard requirement. When you say you are accrediting, you are doing accreditation for any organization, it means that we are recognizing them for what they do and for conforming or complying to specific standard. The following are the various standards towards which they can be accredited to when it comes to ISO accreditation. Number one, we have the management system, which we are talking about. Companies can become a management system certification body. You can establish your own company today and say that you want the company to become a certification body that will be certifying organizations, ISO certification body. What you need to do is to do what? Go online, check up the requirement of ISO 17021 and implement those requirements from beginning to the end. Once you implement it and they come to verify and you pay the required amount, you automatically become a certification body that can certify organizations. Am I clear? So certification body management system certification body gives ISO certifications to organizations. Same thing, we have personnel certification bodies like the like of QMS, the like of Bureau Veritas, the likes of SGS. We have the likes of IACA. IACA is also a certification body. Exemplar Global, they are all certification bodies. Just like we have different universities, UI, Unilag, Covenant, they are all universities. So we have verification bodies too. Those ones, they verify requirement, they verify documentations, data, and the likes. There are so many of them. We have inspection bodies, we have testing and laboratory bodies. Depending on what you want to be recognized for, you can meet up with the requirement, implement those requirements of the standard, and become accredited for them. So these are accreditation bodies. So these accreditation bodies, when it comes to the ISO standard, they now certify. When it comes to ISO certification for management system certification, is this accreditation body that now accredit certification bodies. So ISO certification that you see, 9001, 40001, they are being done by certification bodies. And this can relate to any standard, management system standard. As far as the management system standard, 9001, 14001, 45001, 27001, and so many other standards that companies get certified to. So many standards that management system that companies implement to run their management system, depending on what they want to achieve. So we now have these organizations that are being certified. When we see organization, you see this as part of your terms and definitions. When you see organization, we are talking about individuals, persons. You're talking about persons or group of persons that have its own functions, with responsibilities, authorities, and relationship to achieve the objective. Individuals, as the case may be, we call them organizations. So it means that an individual can run an organization also. Please, few seconds. So sorry about that. It means that a persons of group of person it means that a person or group of person that have its own functions with responsibilities, authorities, and relationship to achieve its objective. So what does it mean? It means that anyone can run an organization. Anyone can be an organization. An individual can decide to get certified to ISO standard as far as they want to get certified. When I say certified as an organization now, they become an organization. And relationship to achieve their objective. Any organization that is doing one or two things, any organization that is running their processes, that have functions, responsibilities, and authorities to achieve their objective, we call them organization, and such organizations can get certified to the standard. So example, a sole trader, a company or corporate firm, enterprise, authority, partnership, charity or institution, or part or corporation thereof. All these are examples of an organization. So it means that that single person down the street can be an organization. That Hausa man that is selling something down the street can decide to implement ISO 9001. What it means is that anybody at all can decide to get certified to ISO standard. They can be certified as a whole or in part, as the case may be. Then we now have the processes for certifying them. Now, if an organization wants to get certified, the process is straightforward. What happens first is that the organization will fill an application. Oh, we want to get certified to ISO 9001. Then the next thing is for them to fill the application. Filling the application and sending it to the certification body. Then there will be stage one audit. After they have filled the application and it has been found adequate, then there will be stage one audit. Then there will be stage two audit. Then if they meet up with the requirement, then they will now become certified. Upon getting certified, after 1 year, there will be surveillance. After another year, there will be another surveillance. And that is how the process goes continuously. After 2 years, after year one, surveillance. After another year one, surveillance. Then few months to the end of year three, there will be certification, which I'm going to explain one after the other now. The certification body, the organization that wants to get certified, they apply for this certification. They apply. They fill the application form just like the way you are filling our application form now. And please, if you have not filled the application form, please kindly fill it. Just like the way you fill the application form now, they will apply for certification. Just like the way they fill the application form now, they will apply for certification and they will fill the application form. Once they fill the application form, then the application form will now be checked for adequacy. They are going to go through it, check through it to be sure that they can actually deliver those services. They can actually certify them. Most times, company will come to request certification for some standard that they've not gone certified to, that they can't even certify them for. For standard that they've not even certified them for. So application review by certification body to review the adequacy of the information about the organization, if they have the right competence to do it for them, and if there are any differences. Then certification body will now determine the competency that will be required to get it done. They will now look if they have the required competency to get the certification done and appoint the audit team leader, and the audit team. So the idea is they will first fill an application form to the certification body that they want to get certified. Those ones will check what they have filled and they will have a meeting, they will discuss about it and agree. Then the certification body will now send the auditors. Then after that, there are 2 stages of audit. There is stage 1 and there is stage 2. There is stage 1 and stage 2. Now, the stage 1 is the initial audit. The stage 1 is the initial audit, and the stage 2 is the final audit. Now, every certification audit, and now this is applicable to certification audit. Certification audit is in two phases: the initial audit and the initial audit and the stage 2 audit, which usually comes together. So there is always a stage 1 audit. There's always a stage 1 audit and there's always a stage 2 audit. Each of them, we are going to explain it one after the other. There's an optional pre-audit, which is not compulsory. There's an optional pre-audit, which is not compulsory but value added. It's just that they help them to get familiar with the standard. They help them to know what to look out for, prepare them for documentation and implementation audit. Stage 1 audit is also a documentation audit or initial audit. You get it. Don't mix it up with first party or second party. These are the two stages in auditing. When it comes to certification, when it comes to ISO certification, there are two stages. They will first come and they will do the initial audit or the stage 1 audit, or we can also call it documentation audit, where they check mostly documentations and to see that you have everything in place. Then they will now come maybe like a week later or 2 weeks later after you have addressed whatever they might have seen in the stage 1 audit. They will now come back for the stage 2 full system audit and audit you fully for the same audit that you are doing. So it's still within the same framework of the audit that you are doing for certification. So every certification audit are always in two parts, stage 1 and stage 2. But there's always an optional pre-audit, which is to prepare for documentation and implementation, helps the company to familiarize themselves with the certification process. So just like in school, then if you want to do exam, we used to do mock exam. So something like that. So we used to do mock exam. We used to prepare. They used to use it to prepare us for the real exam that will be taking place. So that is what we are talking about here. Is pre-audit, it is optional, but it is always value added, and obviously it is not always free. It covers all the ISO 9001 requirement, and also optional and done on the request of at the request of the organization. Then we now have the cycle. Now the cycle for auditing is simple and straightforward. I want you to note that the cycle is simple and straightforward. What is the cycle? Number 1, the initial audit is there. The initial audit is there that is being done, which is the certification, the first time they get certified. The first time every organization gets certified, that is the initial audit we are talking about. Initial certification audit, where they do the stage 1 and the stage 2 audit. Then after 1 year, once they get certified, after 1 year, there will be surveillance audit that is done for the organization. Then after another 1 year, there's another surveillance again that is done. After another 1 year, there's another surveillance again that is done for the organization. After another 1 year, after year 1, there will be surveillance audit. After year 2, there will be another surveillance audit. Then few months to the end of the 3rd year, they will now carry out a recertification audit, because every certification is in 3 years. Every certification is valid for 3 years, but within those 3 years, within that 3 years, there will be yearly surveillance audit that will be done to ensure that they are still in line with the requirement of the standard. Are we there together? Now, like I said, stage 1 audit. What is stage 1 audit? Stage 1 audit is also called the readiness audit. Stage 1 audit is also called the readiness audit or the initial audit, which is recommended to be done on site. Is the first part of the audit, where they carry out initial auditing. The initial audit that is being done by the organization to ensure that things are in place is being done on the organization. They carry out an initial audit on their processes, which is mostly documentation. It contains the requirement of the standard, especially the clauses that says it should be documented. Especially the clause that says so and so must be documented, so and so must be documented. All those requirements that it is clearly stated that it should be documented, it must be properly documented. That's what we are saying here. Every requirement that says that so and so must be documented, it should be documented. That is what they are coming to do in stage 1 audit. They are coming to see their preparedness for the stage 2, because stage 2 is the main audit. What I say again, stage 2 is actually the main audit, but stage 2 will not be done without stage 1 for every certification. I keep on repeating it. For every certification audit, they are always in 2 stages, stage 1 and stage 2. The stage 1 is for readiness, is for preparedness, is for documentation audit, initial audit, stage 1 audit, whatever you call it, it still means the same thing. Then what stage 1 is doing is to verify their key performance parameters, just to check their processes, to be sure that everything is in place and that they are ready for the stage 2. Okay, after the year 3 certification, is it safe to assume that all the certification going forward will be every 3 years? Uh, Normally for new organizations, it depends on the certification body. Different certification body have different styles. Some will, the certification is 3 years ideally, but the surveillance audit, when if it's the first time they are certifying them, they will do surveillance audit every year. But if they have done, maybe they have done certification like 2 times, and maybe they have run like 5 years, 6 years, and they are seeing that they are running well, they might not bother to carry out surveillance audit again. But surveillance audit is always part of what is being done for organizations. I hope that is fine. Mr. Ekato. Hello, I hope that is fine.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
So collection of information regarding statutory and regulatory requirements and their compliance. Collection of information and regulatory requirements. And what will be done in stage 1 also is to collect valid information about their regulatory requirement. Did they confirm? Did they conform to the requirement? Validation of the scope of their management system. How do they understand their scope of their management system? Have they provided the necessary resources for stage 2 audit? Do they have every necessary resources that they need for the stage 2 audits? Have they been provided? Evaluation of their internal and management review. Every part of the standard that says so and so must be available as documented information. I sent us the document in our group chat that talks about documented requirement. Any requirement that says that so and so must be available as documented information must be available, which include the internal audit and management review and performance evaluation parameters. Then assessing their readiness for stage 2. Are they ready for stage 2? Are they ready for stage 2? That's the question. If they're ready for stage 2, so part of what we do in stage 1 audit is to also check their readiness for stage 1 audit. Is to evaluate their readiness for stage 2 audit and to report the findings, including areas of concern, to the client or auditee. Then we now have the stage 2 audit, which is the full system audit, which covers every clause, every standard, every clause of every requirement of the ISO 9001, from the plan phase, do, check, and act, clause 4 to clause 10, and linkage between elements of this quality management system. Every process, every single thing is being audited for adequacy, for suitability, and for effectiveness. So after the stage 1 audit and the stage 2 audit, then audit conclusion will be drawn based on the findings from stage 1 and stage 2. Based on both stage 1 and stage 2 findings, we will draw an audit conclusion, and that is what they will use to make decision on certifying them. So after they've done the stage 1 audit and the stage 2 audit, the findings from the audit will determine if they will be issuing them certification or not, both based on stage 1 and stage 2 audit, and they are going to certify them at the end of the day. So after certifying them, like I said, yearly surveillance at least once per year, and it covers every function, every processes that the company has been certified to. So if the company has certified to this standard, that standard, to some processes, whatever processes was covered during the surveillance, during the certification audit, will definitely be covered. Will definitely be covered for the surveillance audit. And audit plan can be based on previous audit. Audit plan can be based on previous audit and the likes. Are we together? Are we together, please?
Yes, sir. We're together.
All right, beautiful. So audit plan can be based upon result of previous audit. It can be, because it's a surveillance audit, it's based on what is a continue. It's like a continuation, a checking what has been initially certified. So it can be based on previous audits. Maybe there are some reports in the previous audit that they need to check, and they can start from that. And internal audit may be taken into account during surveillance audit. The internal audit processes too can be taken into account. Then assess organizations continue conformance to the standard. On the basis of this, it means that we have two cycles. And the purpose of this particular one is to help us understand that how does the audit cycle go, and how does the certification cycle go. For the certification cycle, I've already explained it. From the day that they've been issued certificate, effective date of certification, till 3 years time where it will expire. If a company was certified on the 27th of May 2018, the certificate will expire on the 27th of May 2021, 3-year period. While audit cycle is the cycle between the last stage 2 audit to the surveillance, to second surveillance, to where they are going to recertify them, certification audit. So this is the recertification cycle. Is that straightforward? Last day of stage 2 audit, the last day that they were issued stage 2, that they did stage 2 audit, then a year after certification, they will certify them first before you start counting 1 year. So a year after certification, the that is for the first surveillance audit. Then another year for the second certification, that is another surveillance for the second surveillance audit. Then when they will now do the recertification, few months to the end, few months to the end of the surveillance audit, few months to the end of the certification expiry. So if certification expires, for example, today is 17th of February. They certify them on the 17th of February 2026. It will expire on the 16th of February 2029. However, the audit cycle will start from when they completed the stage 2 audit. Maybe they completed the stage 2 audit, let's say last month, or let's say 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago will be 3rd of February. So they certified them on the 3rd. They completed the stage 2 audit on the 3rd of February 2026. That will be the last day of the stage 2 audit. Then to the first surveillance, will be 1 year after certification, which will now be 16th of February 2027. Then the next one will now be 17th of February 2028. Then before it now become few weeks to the end of 2029, where they will now carry out a certification audit. The next important one is to talk about the audit time. I've sent this before, but it's like, let me send it to the group again. There's a document that I've sent you the link, but let me just look for it and send it to the group. I've sent it to the group. Determination of audit time. I want you to open it. I sent something to the group now. Determination of audit time. I want you to open page 21. Now, the audit time for all type of audit include the total time that is spent on site at the client location, physically at the client location, and the time that we spent off-site carrying out planning, document review, interacting with client personnel, and report writing. The time that were carried out to do all of this. Have you opened it? Have you opened it? Please, let's open it. Please, let's open the document.
Can you please resend the document? I just joined the group now. I can't find it there. Please, sir.
When did you join the group, man?
I just joined it few minutes ago, just recently. Sir.
I just sent it now. I just sent it now while you're in class. While I was talking now is when I sent it.
Okay, I can't still find it, sir.
Yeah, you have to resend it.
I've sent it to you personally. You can check your chat.
Thank you. I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing it now. Thank you, sir.
All right. All right. If you have opened it, so you will see that we'll talk about how it goes. Now, the audit time for all type of audit is based on the total time spent on site and the time that you spend off-site planning. So even if you are not physically at their facility, the time that you spend off-site planning, document review, interacting with clients, and the personnel report writing is part of the audit time. The duration of the audit time should be typically not than less 80%. Now, this time this time is a range. It's giving us an idea of what to use. But even if you want to reduce it, it must not be less than 80% of what the time is. Meaning that if the audit time says 10 days and you want to reduce it, it must not be less than 8 days. That is the 80%. So a calculator of the audit time following the methodology. And this applies to surveillance audit and certification. The time that you use to travel or break time is not included in your audit certification duration. Now, the methodology is based on simple calculation. Now, when you look at the next page, when you look at the next page, when you look at the next slide that I'm showing here, that's exactly what you have on page 21 of that document that says you open. If you look at page 21, that is the exact thing that you will see there. So now, what the idea here is that the number of staff in the organization will determine the audit days for that particular audit. So let's say a company has 100, let's say a company has 200 staff. How many audit days will it be?
Nine audit days.
Thank you. 9 audit days. That's very correct. This is the standard. If you look at the document there, that's what you will see there. That's the procedure for checking the audit days. Now, this day that you see here is for both stage 1 and stage 2. It's for what? It's for both stage 1 and stage 2. Meaning that we have to dedicate a number of days for stage 1 and number of days for stage 2. Now, in practice, stage 2 is always more than stage 1. Stage 2 always has more days, and we use 1/3 for stage 1 and 2/3 for stage 2. That is 1/3 of the audit days for stage 1 and 2/3 of the audit days for stage 2. So what's the 1/3 of 9 days?
Third is 3 days.
3 days. And 2/3 will be what then?
6 days.
8 days. So that's how you will know the audit days for the audit that you're about to do. Do we understand that? Any question regarding that?
Please kindly shed more light on it. The number of days you said.
I can't hear you again. No. I don't know what's
I
happening.
said 80. You said 80% of the 80% is allowed, even if you are going to reduce it.
That
But
is,
the 80%.
yeah.
So to me, if like estimated time is 10 days, straight on we just know it's 8 days we are going to use.
Why? Why should you just conclude that it's going to be 8 days? Why should you reduce it? There are factors that will determine you reducing the audit days.
Okay.
We are only
Okay.
saying that if for any reason, which we still talk about, which is on the next slide here. If for any reason you want to reduce the audit days, maybe they have a good system or they are perfect, or maybe you feel like okay, everything is in good condition, or they don't have complex operation. Some companies can have 100 staff and their operation will be very complex, and some can have 100 staff and their operation will be very simple, because complexity is also a factor. So even if their work is very easy, they don't have any high risk, they have automated system, they don't have quality issues, and you feel like don't let us spend too much time, these people are very good, even if you want to reduce it for that reason, it must not be more than 80%, less than 80%. That's what we are saying. Not that you just decide to just reduce it like that. There must be reason, justifiable reason for you to reduce the audit days. Do you get what I'm explaining, ma?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. So, what are now the
Okay.
fact?
Thank you.
What are now the fact? Thank you, ma. What are now the okay? So, what are now the factors that can increase the audit time? Complicated logistics. When you have complicated logistics involving more than one building, maybe where you want to audit, they have different buildings scattered everywhere. You might want to increase the audit time. Maybe a separate design center that must be audited that is different from the operational area. Maybe the staff are speaking more than one language and you need to have an interpreter. that can lead to increasing the audit time. Very large number of sites for number of personnel, like let's say a farmland that has wide, large acres of land, but the number of staff can still occupy, let's say, 2 or 3 story building where you can easily audit them. But because of the nature of their own job, it requires them to be dispersed. That can lead, because you have to work from one place to another, that can lead to increase in audit time. High degree of regulation in the industry where they belong, complexity of their processes can lead to increasing the audit time. Activity that will require visiting temporary site to confirm what is happening in the permanent site. Activities that are considered to be high risk and outsourced functions and processes. All this might lead to increasing of the audit time. Are we there?
Yes, sir.
However, decreasing can also happen. But like I said, if you want to decrease, it must not be more than what? It must not be more than 80% or less than 80%. Now, client is not design responsible or other standard elements are not covered in the scope. Maybe they don't carry out design and development. Maybe they outsource the designing. So you don't need to audit design stage. Automatically, that can lead to reduced time. Very small number of sites can lead to reduced time. Maturity of their management system too can lead to reduced time. Maybe they have a good management system, or maybe they have prior knowledge of the client management system. Maybe they have prior knowledge. They've been certified to another standard by another certification by the same certification body, or they have been certified by another certification body. They have high level of automation. They have high level of automation. Maybe they have high level of automation in their processes, and you feel like, okay, we can decrease the audit time, or they have a good management system. They have that. They have this. Where staff include a number of persons who work off location. This can also happen. There are some industry. Sorry, there are some industries. There are some industries where their main operators they are not at the facility. You can't access them in the facility. Unlike doctors working in the hospital that you see them in the facility. Maybe operators like drivers, salespersons, service personnel, they are always going to work outside. So because of most of their operation is always outside client vicinity, and you can't have access to every of their staff, that can lead to a decrease in audit time. And it is possible to audit their compliance of their activity through their review of their records. So you can use their records to know how well they have done, instead without having to have access to all the staff or do interview with most of the staff or see their operation. The operation is not what you will see. For example, now Uber will not have a place in their garden or in their compound where the drivers will be driving left and right. All the Uber services are out there. So because of that, due to the nature of their work, it might not have a physical presence of what you want to audit. You can only audit based on the record that they provide for you and verify the validity of those documents. So quickly, let's go to roles and responsibilities. Let's go to roles and responsibilities. We have different roles. The auditing organization have a role to play. We talk about the CSO, the scope, the objective, and the criteria. They need to determine it, and also they are the one that select the auditing. They are the auditing organization. They are the one that are sending auditors to go and do the audit. So they define the scope objective together with the auditing leader and the lead auditor. Then they are the one that will select the audit team leader, provide resources, and ensure that the auditors are competent to carry out the audit. They will determine the competence, and they are the right owner of the audit report. They are the rightful owner of the audit report and control any follow-up action. We discussed this before. This is the auditing organization. They are the one that wants to do the audit. They own the report, they follow up, they control follow-up action, they determine competence, they select the audit team leader, and they provide audit team resources that is needed. Then the audit team leader, he has the overall responsibility of the audit, while the auditing members are to assist him. The person that have the overall responsibility for the audit, those that are going to do the audit, is the audit team leader. When it comes to planning, when it comes to preparation, when it comes to effective communication, when it comes to accurate fact findings, when it comes to reporting of the audit on time and the follow-up on audit process, the audit team leader owns that responsibility. Proper planning of the audit, proper preparation, effective communication between the auditors, auditees, and the client, and ensuring that every evidence that they bring forward to him, every evidence is fact, objective fact findings. Every non-conformity that they raise, it must be based on evidence, objective evidence. Then reporting of the audit on time and proper follow-up of the audit process. Then the audit team leader also determines the scope and the objective of the audit. The lead auditor, together with the audit team leader, determine the scope and the objective. They will obtain background because they are the one that want to audit that particular process. Obtain background information, conduct document review, then select and assign audit team members, who are those that will join the audit team. Prepare the audit plan, including the date of the audit, the duration of the audit, then representing the team at all stages, including opening and closing meeting. This is similar to what the audit team leader does. Then resolution if there are any issues, evaluation of the evidence and result reporting, then preparing and presenting the report and follow-up report and approves corrective action. So the audit team leader ensures that the operational part of the audit is being done successfully. The schedule of the audit, the date, the duration, the audit team members representing his own team at all stages, including the opening meeting and closing meeting. Resolutions, if there are any issues, he should be able to resolve them and evaluate the evidence and result reporting and conduct any follow-up and report and approve corrective action. Then every other auditor has a role to play. Every other auditor has a role to play. As an auditor, your first role is to be competent. Your first role is to be competent to do the audit. Competent to do the audit, to conduct the audit. If you're not competent, just rightly mention that you're not competent to do the audit. Prepare checklist because you are going to audit your own process. You are going to carry out your own audit. Unless the certification body or the auditing organization gives you a checklist that they have made, you are meant to ensure that you develop this audit checklist. You are meant to ensure that you develop this audit checklist. Conduct audit according to audit plan, then communicate with auditee and team members. Record and report observations clearly, safeguard audit documents as required, and follow up procedures and plan, then check on corrective actions if required. Then keep within the agreed scope. Ensure that when you are doing your audit, don't audit what you are not being asked to audit, what you are not being told to audit. Only audit within the agreed scope. Carry out your assigned task effectively. Carry out that task. Carry out that assigned task that you have been assigned to do. Don't be told to do audit, but you are doing something else. Carry out your assigned task, be objective, be ethical. Because in audit, the auditees can confuse you. They can distract you. They can start talking about football or start talking about the other gender or start talking about something else or start saying things that or start talking about politics. Saying something without distracting you, and you are distracted. They put biscuit, milk, sweet, chewing gum, groundnut, everything you're from, bread. You start eating everything, eating everything, and become unethical in your approach to auditing. And before you know it, time has gone, and you start rushing, and you're unable to do the audit. So you must be ethical, you must be alert. Your audit must be evidence-based. Collect and analyze evidence that they give to you. Everything that they say they do, tell them to show you evidence and confirm by yourself. Support the audit team leader at all times and ensure confidentiality. Don't talk about other organizations' processes to them, and don't also mention their own processes to other organizations. Remain ethical at all times and conduct and check on corrective action if it's required. If you are expected to check on corrective action, always ensure that you do that always. And always safeguard the audit document. The auditee are those that you are an auditor. The auditee are those that have been audited. The auditee is meant to inform all their employees about the audit, about the scope of the objective of the audit, so that they'll be prepared for it. Provide resources, facilities, provide guides, and they provide access to all areas that the auditor needs to go to for the audit. Be available for the audit. We don't want to hear that the HR is not available. The logistics manager just left now. They must make themselves available for the audit unless it can affect the success of the audit. Ensure auditees' cooperation. It can affect the success of the audit program because when someone is not available, it will alter the schedule. Ensure auditees' cooperation. So the auditee, which is the company that you are auditing, must be ready, must be alert, must provide everything that is needed. Ensure that their employees are ready to cooperate with the auditee. Ensure with the auditor, ensure proper cooperation and attend opening and closing meeting and take adequate corrective action. Then the auditee also assists auditors by supplying information and document as needed. When an auditor what's it called? When an auditor says that he needs so and so information, they should ensure that they are being provided. They should be ready to answer questions, make themselves available at the appropriate times, and provide facilities as agreed. Every facility that is supposed to be provided, they should ensure that those facilities are provided. Then guide the auditors on where to go. They should ensure proper guidance and proper establishment of the audit process from the angle of their own employees to ensure a smooth running of the audit. Then the guides, you can have guides also. Maybe you travel, maybe where you travel to is far, where you want to do the audit. The auditing organization, the auditee can provide guides for you that will guide you where to go, help you with your logistic need, accommodation, feeding, all those things. Assist the auditors for their logistic need, and they can also be, maybe it's even a country that that is a different language, but the guide will understand your language, will be an interpreter. So the guide will also help you to understand, to make the auditee understand the questions. Help the auditors to make the auditee understand the questions. Then we have observers. Observers are those, from the name observer, are those ones that come to observe. Maybe an auditor in training who's just learning how to audit, or they invite a client to come and watch the audit. An auditee can invite one of their clients to come and watch the audit. They can even invite a regulatory body to come and witness the audit. So we can have guides who accompany the auditors during the audit. They take note of findings for their own reference, not for any purpose, but for their own note taking. They actually note things down, jot things down, and verify the proceedings. So I think that's where we are going to close it for today. Please, this is day one. That's why we are closing early. Tomorrow we will be starting by 9:30 and will most likely close by 3:30. Please, if you have any question, please let us ask now. Any question, please?
Sorry, sir. For the assignment, how are we going to go about it?
If you click on the link to the assignment, it will grant you access. You will see the exercises there. You open them one after the other and respond to them. And when you are done responding to everything together, then you send it to the email that we told you to send it to in the group.
Okay, sir. Not sir. Wait.
All right, thank you very much. Any other one?
Paul, yes, summarize. Give a brief summary or executive summary of all. Day one, or you are going to do that tomorrow, sir. For those of us that couldn't join early,
We have the recording.
start with us.
Once
Okay.
the class ends now, we will send the recording to the class.
Oh, great. Thank you.
All right.
Eshegun.
You're welcome. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you tomorrow again. Don't forget, 9:30 is the time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.